Why were you arguing about causality in Mech Interp?
They were basically saying that Mech Interp is not real science like astrology or something because it's correlation, not causation. Because some Twitter posts were popular that were making that point and it was getting a code in the server.
I think this research triggered it in big part. Not just in Yannick Discord, but also on Twitter by Sabaro, and I called him out because.
That just doesn't make sense. Like people do use some methods that people use are not causal, but people do interventions to test their theories normally.
Yeah, right. So, that's what I said.
This is not a very hasn't actually read the literature take, right?
And it was full of Twitter after this anthropic paper. So
I think it all started with the emotion concepts paper. I think that's the main problem.
But the emotions paper also does test the causality of the thing, right?
Yes, but I don't mean the content. I just mean the title.
Okay. Yeah. I think there's definitely people who are reacting, who read to the title of the papers without actually reading it. But it feels extra silly to like hallucinate something about them not using causal methods without actually reading the paper and seeing that they do that.
I think some people also want a more some causality in the sense of a model that doesn't need interventions or something like that. I'm a bit confused what that means though. Like, yeah, I don't know, because I don't know. I'm extremely empirical, so I don't really trust a model. If you don't empirically verify it, and you cannot really do analytical mathematical models on the scale of Mech Interp in the giant models, so it's kind of an issue.
Anyway, let's
so far
actually read the. Let me first check the YouTube thing.
And here they have also steering in this paper, so
this is streaming, and after I'll actually read the paper this time.
Yes, let's see if it was posted in Slack.
It's okay. It's working now.
How did the paper not be posted to Slack? Okay, that is weird. Only the open source thing was posted in Slack.
Anyway, you can fix that while I guess I'll start with this. So.
Okay, posted to Slack.
So is the thing only? Yeah, it's only this post, right? It's not one of those things where they have a blog and oh no, they do have a blog and a paper.
Yeah, they have a blog, they have a Twitter thread, and they have a paper.
Okay.
All of them.
I guess we can skim the blog first because they usually summarize things. Then we get into the paper and we'll probably not finish as usual with this long entropy papers. We won't actually finish, but
yeah.
So let's look at the post first because that way we already get summary of everything. Yeah, so they have activations. We want to understand activations. Yeah, the typical Mech Interp stuff. Autoencoders and attribution graphs.
Yeah, like maybe to if you want some TLDR a bit, it's kind of like something where you combine activation oracles and sparse autoencoders, but not really. So let's read the paper.
Yeah, that's also the sense I have, but I kind of want to know exactly how it works, though. But yes,
yeah.
let's read the paper. They're introducing this new thing, which is hi Gonzalo, by the way. But yeah, introducing this new thing, which is the natural language autoencoders, which compares activations into natural language text we can read directly.
Yeah, so basically, you take you have a model you wanna interpret like Claude, then you like take a copy of it, and fine-tune it to take activations and output text, which should be the explanation, and which is a verbalizer. Then you take a second copy of the code and you fine-tune it to take the text and output activations as like a reconstructor in a autoencoder. And then you train the verbalizer with reinforcement learning, and the second one, the reconstructor, with normal gradient descent without reinforcement learning, with cross entropy and so on. And actually, the loss here is reconstruction only, so there is no other thing in the loss. Well, there is also kill divergence towards the initialization, so that you don't drift too much from the initialization, because it's all unsupervised. But I think there are some variants. I think that's like the TLDR of the paper. But there's much more nuance. I'm oversimplifying.
Okay, I didn't like, you were speaking fast. I didn't really understand everything,
Oh, okay.
but I'll see while I look at the paper, I guess.
Okay. Yes, it will be on the paper. Kill divergence with respect to initialization. It's, I think, in GRPO that's usually done, so that when you train with RL the model, you just don't drift off from the initialization, so that the verbalizer is still like kind of coherent, since there is nothing in the loss incentivizing the explanations to be coherent. Kind of the issue here is there's no incentive for the explanations to actually be explanations of the activations. It's just reconstruction. So
I mean,
that's
if
one of the
you,
critiques. It also hallucinates a lot.
I guess if you, I guess the idea might be that I still don't. I'll have to keep going to actually get to the part where you explain to understand how it was trained. But I guess the idea might be that if you have to compress activations into text, and and they have to be similar, and you want the KL divergence to be small or whatever. Maybe the easiest way to do that is by writing an explanation. But I feel like I need to actually deeply understand all of the losses and to understand why that could be the case and why that might not be.
At the same time, empirically, there's still all the hallucinations.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, I think that's what Gonzalo is saying on chat is like, and that when he says that, yeah, if I understand it, the natural language autoencoder can do natural language because it's actually another version of Cloud. It's like similar to the activation oracles, that it's a version of Cloud that you are fine tuning to doing this natural language autoencoder thing, right? Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
In this case, RL.
That gets you some of the things, some of the complaints I have of potential problems with oracles. If you are having some activation that, like as a dumb example, if you have some activations that steer the, I guess maybe not some, so there's a thing that the model is misaligned, the fine-tuning versions might lie to you, but there's also the thing of the, depending on how the activations are input, if there's something like the or activation oracles, if you have some steering vector that steers the model to lie or whatever, it might also cause the oracle or the natural language thing to lie, because it has the same effects. And it's kind of, there's also a more general thing, instead of lying, of separating steering effects from meaning or something like that.
From meaning?
But, yeah, like is like you have some activations that steers the model to do or say something, and that the way that affects the other text can often look like it's saying the correct thing, but there are some examples where like it lying example where it will lead to a different example, a different thing that
yeah. They I think this was from the paper. NLE suggests cloud suspects is being tested. So NLEs can potentially verify it. Classify that aspect. So maybe next year Claude will be aware that.
Okay, so Gonzalo is saying that he's on the airport, but he's mostly curious about how much of training recovered, do the preparation recover? There's a plot that covers something. Yeah, I'm not sure what that is, but we'll get to that plot. And do they try the changing the verbalization and see what happens? Yeah,
I will like
get
reconstruction
there.
loss?
If we're running out of time and I haven't gotten there yet, do remind me and I'll quickly go to there. But let's go in order first. Okay, so this is just some examples of how they use it, which is safety testing. They believe they were tested more often than they laid on. Sitting authority tasks was internal thinking about how to avoid detection.
Oh, by the way, guys, do you know anyone who checks what's the false positive rate on evaluation awareness? Like how many times models think they're being tested when they're actually already deployed?
I mean, that seems hard in that if you are testing that, are you all actually testing? I mean, I guess.
Yeah, but like what I mean is like maybe you can imagine that a paranoid misaligned model would almost always assume to be tested even when it's actually deployed.
Well, this wasn't some rigorous test, but I've seen I'm not sure if Claude or Grok say like you gave it some politics news and it was like this is completely absurd. It
was on when Venezuela's Maduro's capture. Yeah.
Yeah,
maybe that.
I feel like a problem with testing this rigorously. If you are testing this rigorously, you are actually testing, so the model is correct that you are testing it, right? I guess you could do something like try to compile like stories from developers of how often the internal metrics of how often that happens on their workflows. And those, I guess, Anthropic could also do some. They probably have some data on how much that kind of thing happens. They could maybe get some data from their actual user base and from random samples, seeing how often the model thinks that. But
like I imagine that could be a very risky form of control. Like instead of decreasing evaluation awareness, what if you increase it always so that model always thinks it's being tested and so always behaves even if it's misaligned?
The thing's risky that the model might just. I think there are things that you can, as the model becomes better, figure out from that is not being tested, and also it might there might be cases where you don't want it to think it's being tested, right? Where it's anyway. Let's just go to the. Let's continue on the paper anyway. Because I feel I'm going to get into a rabbit hole of talking about that, and instead I kind of prefer to just go to the paper a bit. Below is final. Okay, so early version will sometimes mysteriously respond to English queries in other languages. It's common internet that causes that's interesting. Yeah. How is the effectiveness and limitations? What percentages or similar open models through collaboration with your opinion. We have also released our code for other things to build on.
This is the first open source Anthropic models, by the way.
Something something I'm interested on that I kind of need to get to the part where I actually understand how the thing is trained is if you can easily use their code, like maybe training something to, or like things that are not language models, or necessarily you need is like maybe it's like the activation oracles. In the activation oracles, it was better with the actual model, with using the same model, and it worked worse with a different model, but it didn't work completely badly, so maybe it was possible. But yeah, I think I need to.
You mean changing this Claude model for a different model?
Yeah, like if you
at least in
train Claude to be a natural language autoencoder for.
I mean, yeah.
A chess model or learn interesting things about chess or whatever.
I see. Yeah, like the what is open source is for Gwen and Llama or something like that. So there's multiple Gemma. I think.
Yeah,
Gwen and Gemma,
the thing Gonzalo says also interesting. It could be cool to train them on protein models and see if we can learn something about protein folding from those context. But I could also see that I have to read the paper. It might work worse or something.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised actually. Maybe they do it. I don't know, since they train the different models.
I guess we can probably learn something about that if they train on different models. As I said, we can see how the rate is from, you train Claude on. In that case, like, I expect the activations to be similar anyway, but still, if there is some, performance degradation from that, maybe it's worse on completely different models. But yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
It seems like it should be. If it seems like it's possible, I might just try later. Just ask Claude to download the GitHub and train it on another model, like on the chess one, because I already was doing some experiments on that one and see what happens. But yeah, anyway. Yeah, so explanation activations. How the explanation is good. Since we don't know what the explanation costs, we can, so we trying a second copy of plot to works backward. Reconstruct the original activation from the text explanation. Okay, I think that makes sense. So I do think this does some, like, if you have a Claude that is trying to make explanations and another Claude that is trying to reconstruct explanations, it makes sense that a way that there is some push towards making understandable explanations, right? It could also be that, for example, the Claude just learns to encode the data in some weird stenography way, and the other Claude learns to reconstruct it. But especially since they are the same model, maybe this will be better if they if you use different models, so they need to rely more on a specific, on actually the meaning of the text, instead of something like sending some number that makes it think about owls or whatever.
I don't think it would work if they were not the same model, though. Like, wouldn't they have to be basically the same base model for this to work?
I think in activation oracles it worked, but worse. So it's more of a gradient.
I expect it also will work worse here, but I think they tested that and we'll see later. But like, it doesn't necessarily, because you're just doing, right? If it's actually on the, I think it will have to be on the same model for some tricks to work. But if it's just encoding in the meaning of text, just actually doing the thing it's supposed to do, when it's just writing the text that it thinks the text that it should be necessary for other person or model to reconstruct the thing that should work.
I was thinking if you could ground it with supervised fine-tuning first, and then doing this unsupervised compression reconstruction, and also maybe like, I don't know, put into laws something like how well it's steered, using some LM as a judge or something like that, as an incentive to make it actually correspond to reality somehow much more.
Oh, nice. Gonzalo is linking to this thing that seems similar to he did with about partially writing a transformer in natural language. Yeah, I was thinking that this part at least seems like a relatively simple idea that I was curious if people had tried anything similar.
Generate 2025. You can pull a Schmidt-Huber that they copied
but
you.
he's saying that they didn't do the optimization is step because they were afraid of stenography. Traslut did it better. Can you? I sent it. Oh, you mean this thing? Okay. Relatively concerted coders. So yeah, I'm wondering how much, how different these, like, what are the difference between these Gonzalo's thing and the and the Anthropic paper? So
Not sure
when
what concept list
understand
is, but at least in this paper, I'm not sure what concept set list is, but at least in this Anthropic case, you just translate into language into vocabulary. So I'm not sure if that's concepts lists. At least if I remember correctly.
Yeah. Oh, here it is.
More interpretable and accurate as we scale up training. I think that's not the case for the Anthropic approach. I wonder what is their loss. Okay, this is a thing we could read as well.
I see. Right, let's finish Anthropic one. I guess we can see the related stuff on the thing.
It's a step forward, Anthropic one. Oh, okay.
So okay. So how does this work? They have 3 copies of the language model. So the one they want to start the activation from, the activation verbalizer, which is basically like the encoder of the sparse on the sparse of the natural language autoencoder, and the activation deconstructor, which is the decoder. I think it's good that they use different models from a different model from this and from this, and they are trained separately because
they trained it jointly, but
oh, they did train it jointly.
Yeah, it's RL over the whole reconstruction.
I
you look at the loss function,
more
it's
worried
scroll
about
down.
the stenography. It seems like it will be less you'll see less stenography if you train the first one and then separately after you have a model that you're trained to just I guess it will be hard to figure out what will be on its own what the signal is.
The issue is that you couldn't do that because that would be you could you still look at the reconstruction one. Okay.
No, but you need to reconstruct it some way, right? So you don't have a reconstruction loss. I guess you could.
Yeah, like you could just not update the weights of the
Gonzalo, don't worry.
reconstructor.
I just thought it was interesting what you said. So like, feel free to just keep commenting on things.
Yes. Yeah, by the way, in the laws of Remember, there's just reconstruction laws, basically. And then I think there's like an edit where you also put it into a log, and then you also have a scale divergence penalty from the initialization, so that the model doesn't drift off too far. So that it's.
I guess that scale divergence is supposed to make sure that they don't shift enough to cause steganography.
Yeah.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
And we just assume that small shift can't give it.
Yeah, this is done in GRPO as well. For when you do reinforcement learning with verifiable words. So that the model doesn't drift off into alienish.
I wonder.
Victor, if you want to see the equation, just scroll down a few, and then you see NLA training, and it shows the equation.
Okay, yeah, don't worry. But I was just looking at this first. But I worry. I wonder if what happens if you. So maybe if yeah, that's the problem. Yeah, I don't know. I was thinking of, is there any way of making sure that it's I was thinking of schemes like you train it this way first, but then you train a third model that was not trained jointly for the first one to reconstruct the thing. But the problem is, like, the thing you care about is the verbalizer, not yeah, the verbalizing actually outputting some sensical text.
Yeah, there is no incentive, as far as I know.
Unless, I guess, you give ground truth a couple times and do supervised first, I guess.
Yeah, that was my idea.
The reconstructor is just I guess.
You could. It will take a lot of effort, but you could take some human writers and ask them to manually reconstruct activations or something. It seems like it will be pretty hard.
Like activation
you
oracles
be creating
are
supervised fine tuning for chain of thought, basically.
Like yeah, like activation oracles are supervised. There you have supervised string data, so you can do basically what you're doing there with these different laws and RL.
For this paper, did they look at the activation reconstructor to figure out which parts of the activation verbalizer were, I guess, important? Because if a word in the from the activation verbalizer is not like highlighted by the activation reconstructor, we could assume that's not relevant to the explanation.
Yeah, it's not highlighting words. It is just taking activations and generating its own.
Yeah, but not everything from the verbalizer has to be used for the reconstructor. So I feel like
some of it might be noise. And in fact, some of it, like, imagine if a word not is noise. That means you have the exact opposite of real meaning in there.
Yeah, so curious if like you could take the activation reconstructor and then filter the activation verbalizer to maybe like do something like attribution.
Yeah,
so
also
if you still patch some parts
of the natural language description you could do.
Because the activation verbalizer is the main thing we want to make, but the activation reconstructor is like our ground truth, like to tell like
or you could also, another thing you could do is ask yeah, that works. You could ask another, maybe they already did that. You could ask another model to rephrase the text and see if it still gets the same answer, and that probably gets a lot of rid of a lot of stenography.
Oh yeah, in fact, you should do another model that's another base model as well, like maybe even GPT or some other model.
Yeah.
I was thinking instead of like trying to make the verbalizer for like the goal as the verbalizer, I'd be curious if you use the activation like AR to maybe like do a maximum explanation reconstructor to like see what is like the highest, like recreates the activations the best and what recreates it the worst, like in the opposite direction.
I'm curious about something. I don't know whether this would be possible, but why don't you would it be possible to have a stronger model, like just stronger large language model, just look at the result and use that for the fine tuning? just automatically? Would that be possible, or I'm not really sure.
You mean at the result in
for the activation verbalizer, whenever it verbalizes, let's say it just doesn't make sense human readable wise, it seems pretty clear that like a random model like Opus 4.6 could look at that and be like, oh yeah, that's not human readable, and tell the model.
Oh, okay, I see what you mean. That could be an extra loss, like how much sense it makes to Opus. Kind of loss.
I just feel like adding this loss of like forcing it to be human readable is not a good idea, because you still need the loss of the because we don't want just an explanation. We want an explanation that like
it's actually
goes in actually matches the activations.
Yeah, this could be
I feel like
I
feel like adding that noise would make the explanations look that cleaner, but it won't actually make the explanations better in the sense like.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I think
the reconstruction loss would be higher.
Make the activations look nicer and cleaner when they actually are not.
Or like it adds more words that in the activation reconstructor than they actually were.
Okay.
Like it
adds filler words that are not related to the activation.
I mean, wouldn't you also be adding noise if a human is doing it? Like, I mean, I know that like obviously it's a model that has noise, but like, I mean, I guess you have less noise with a human, but it's still more scalable. Like, anytime you have like create an explanation that's like not the original, of course you're gonna like go off of the original activations for the reconstruction. But I guess you just have to do some testing to empirically see whether like it would create like significantly more noise versus the technique.
Yeah, if it creates too much noise, I don't think it's worth doing, but my gut instinct.
By the way, looking at this, I do think like this seems like it is a good use of this, regardless of how accurate they are, because it seems that there is not that much reason for, like, if you ask the activation verbalizer to verbalize some random thing that is from a test, it seems like there is not that much reason for the activation verbalizer to output specifically this, like specifically that is thinking about being tested, without the cloud actually being thinking about that, right? Because it's not like if you ask activation oracle what's if the cloud thinks that's being tested, maybe that you have a lot of false positives. But here it feels like it could say it could be thinking a lot of different things, and it's more indicative when it's actually this is the thing that the activation oracle
is there any incentive anywhere in here for it to be saying things that it expects researchers want to hear? I hear that complaint about alignment faking paper, but I don't see how that could be the case here. Could it?
That doesn't seem like
there is no RLHF or anything, so it's like whatever is best minimizes the reconstruction loss using RL basically. Plus local divergence. Like there is no incentive in other way.
Model that was already trained with reinforcement learning from human feedback and whatever, but
okay, yeah,
it's
that's
still
true actually.
It has to like in this case, like the thing we are wanted to figure out is if Claude can notice if there's being a test, and if Claude is noticing that it's on a test, and that's like here the Claude is saying this because it's noticing that it's a test. It's actually a thing they want to measure anyway, right? Even if there's a different instance of Claude.
Yeah, like I wonder if in the pre-training of Claude there was some activations to text actually, but I don't think so. I think they have to edit it here in the model so that it takes activation. So I'm not sure how exactly they formulate activations. If they like remove the first layer, or if they put it into text or something like that. I think they remove the first layer or something like that. takes the activation as an input, so I guess they remove the first layer. I'm not sure though.
Okay, they this seems they this test here with normal, with data from users, which is the thing we were talking about earlier. In contrast, natural language, the autoencoder explanations indicate evaluation awareness on less than 1% of real Claude AI usage that adopt in for training, right? So, like, if you are using Claude as an activation verbalizer, it's necessarily the case that this Claude cannot realize that it's tested, because like the explanation for it doing this, it will be that the activation verbalizer is noticing that this is a test anyway, right? Like this
you mean it might by default suspect that
Claude.
if some strange input is received, it must be a test?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
You think model would by default suspect that if a strange kind of input arrives, it's a test?
Yeah, I mean, there are some kind of things that are pretty obviously tests too. Like if you are like all of the stuff about blackmail and everything, those experiments are usually very, apart from the fact that they are on this kind of experiments are on the training data, they probably have a style that they can figure out. Like I think there was I don't remember who, but there was a post about maybe Red Bull Research, where one of the models knew it was specifically a Red Bull Research test because they use the same kind of prompt. And but yeah, I think a lot of setups for this kind of thing are kind of unrealistic, and sometimes the model can also test. But the thing I was saying is, so if you were using, I don't know, Claude, Opus, whatever, to look into a smaller model, it could be the case that this is overestimating how much awareness there is, because maybe the verbalizer just thinks that the researchers wanted to say that the other model is evaluation aware, when it's on a test, and maybe the actual model you are looking at is not that evaluation aware. It's just the natural language autoencoder that is syncopantic and evaluation aware. But like this does require it to be evaluation aware, right? So at least for evaluation awareness, like the model can't cheat because cheating itself is a test of the thing we wanted to figure out.
Wait, Nika, I just found out there is supervised fine-tuning step at the beginning as warm-up with activations and summary. Apparently.
I think the full details of the trainings are on the GitHub. This paper.
Yeah, also I found it in the paper.
But
that's already happening. Never mind. I thought that wasn't. So they already start pre-training it with activation and summary pairs.
Okay.
As warm-up, and then they go into RL.
Yeah, that can be.
Verifiable. Yeah, here is an exact quote.
I will be more skeptical. I will be more worried about other kinds of tests, precisely because the activation, the natural language autoencoder does know when it's looking at a test, and can do. I mean, it's always tested in this case, but it might actually do something. Hide something about some activation in the other clause or something. Because a full trained Claude with its own, has been trained on the whole internet and with reinforcement learning and has some goals or whatever.
Yeah. Also, by the way, this was
No,
relevant to
imagine
the discussion.
like a test where you, although it will be hard to not make it obvious for current models, but maybe for smaller models, you make a kind of test where you are on like the reward hacking thing, where they you said to Claude that you are going to modify it to when to harm users or whatever, and you use the activation oracle to find when Claude is, lying about not wanting to harm users, and see if Claude tries to hide the activation oracle tries to hide it or something like that.
You need to do activation oracles over the activation oracles, and to catch it.
No, I just in a case where it's going has some opinion, is likely to lie on the other direction, like with Opus 3. I don't know.
Yeah, I wonder if you could do activation oracle over activation oracles, something like that.
Or natural language autoencoders.
Over natural language autoencoders, yeah.
I mean, it's the same model. You should be able to write. Like.
Yeah. That sounds also like a research idea.
Like it's the same model, both. I guess in one case you're inputting activations in the other text, but I don't know how you input the activations. But it should. You should be able to take the activations still on.
I already have written down like 10 ideas of this paper. Jesus Christ. I never execute them. I have to execute
discover the motivations. Determine was misaligned.
Also, when you have these ideas in the reading group, are you writing them down? I think it's a good idea.
I'm not, and maybe I should. Sometimes I do. I have a few times, but rarely, like watch the video again later to remember what but only because I remember I had some interesting idea about something, and but I don't remember the details.
Or you can take the transcript and run it through Whisper and extract from using Claude.
Was the one time I was more interested in that, I actually failed to record it. Which was very annoying.
Yeah.
Like the recording thing broke or something. I don't remember exactly. Yeah. So, auditing game. There's a target model that was intentionally trying to be misaligned. Yeah, this kind of test is nice because it's more like actually there is a ground truth and you have to actually find it, and then yeah.
Yeah, also in terms of I think in this case it was when you were trying to measure deception or something like that. They one of the critiques of Yannick was that it looked very heavily cherry picked, that they looked only at a certain part of like when you do the whole autoregression, that at a certain word in the middle, which seemed arbitrary. So Yannick was hypothesizing that they ran it through the whole autoregression to some part of the sentence, and then they finally saw something like deception in the verbalizer. So then they published it, that example, and didn't publish the fact that it wasn't everywhere else. I'm not sure if that's true. That's Yannick's hypothesis because he's skeptical of everything Anthropic does. At the same time, you could test this with the open source models. At the same time, the open source models are worse than all these Claude models. Wait, Claude Haiku 3.5. Okay, that's actually not that good model. So yeah, maybe the open source models are equivalent in power than to the Claude they used here.
I mean, but so that could be still tested. Clearly, like if you want to find deception, like
I'm not sure if it was deception, but something like that in stage 2.
I would want to see how, for example, they made this graph, but let's say that you look at multiple at the entire tech, all of the positions, and you on the test samples you find evaluations awareness in some of them, but not all of them. Right? It's just evaluation awareness model is not thinking in some sense about evaluation awareness in all positions. And on the other case, you never found it. Then, like, it doesn't matter that it's only on some points, right? Like the thief.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
I
think
could
it was for
also
the
see
evolution
thing that
awareness.
Gianni says that maybe it always at some point says random things and sometimes says the thing. I will have to depends on the example, I guess. But yeah.
Do you wanna say it, Seth? You can feel free to say it. I think that's fine.
Yeah, sure. I'll just read it out so that it's easier. I keep hearing mentions that the activation verbalizer doesn't have an incentive to make the output text human readable. Curious if there would be future related work researching how to create that incentive from an engineering perspective without like the activation reconstruction lost. I mean, also one that has scale, right? Otherwise it doesn't, it's not going to work, but
yeah, I don't know if that's in the paper, but my idea there was like they do steering using this. So if the steering works, that's like if the explanation corresponds to how the model is steered. I'm not sure how exactly they did the steering. Then that's a positive signal that it actually corresponds in some way. So you could use that into the loss possibly, and like LLM as a judge saying, "Oh, the steering corresponds to the explanation."
Right. So I guess, yeah. I mean,
that would be my idea.
Yeah. My
Yeah,
thing
I
on
guess.
this. Oh, sorry.
No, I was just gonna ask for the steering. I guess like the human. Oh, never mind, Matt. Anyway, continue.
Oh yeah, I was just going to say that my take on this is that maybe there is a film feature where on that. I think it might be nice. Is there? It's just a slightly. It's just a slightly. Okay, I will worry on those methods if they don't just to try to avoiding incentivizing the model to just make up nice sounding things that are not actually the correct explanation, right? Like
yeah,
you will have to be very careful with making sure the model is still the explanations are still faithful. But yeah.
Yeah. There's still a lot of confabulation. Yeah. Maybe the steering could that maybe could be used in essays as well. Actually, like as in this idea in a different way
Wait,
where you
the person that just posted on chat weren't they deafened on Discord? I thought I saw that they were deafened on Discord, but
deafened, you said?
Yeah, like with there's a silence and deafened separate buttons, and then they can't hear anything. So maybe it was just that.
Oh, yeah, maybe it was muted for some reason.
Like for example, there's
yeah.
another person right now that is also like that here for some reason, like Tarng.
Oh, I see. Yeah, maybe the other person is busy. Oh, I see. You're definite. Yeah. Wait.
Okay.
I will tell him.
They should be able to hear us.
No, click on the headphones here, maybe.
No, they are not deafening anymore. So.
Oh, can you hear us now? You should be able to hear us. Okay, good. Yeah, fixed it. Nice. Yeah, I was thinking you could do this with sparse autoencoders, this idea. Very like, you do this unsupervised training, then you have the features, then you do auto-labeling using LLMs, and then you try steering and see if the auto-labeled corresponds to actually how it's steered. When you think about it. Maybe that can be used as a...
So the thing is, there is something adjacent that people already use, it was kind of nice. They already use the to score the labels. They already using the labels for reconstruction as a measure. I guess it's interesting. Right, like this is just the way where the thing where you actually just directly train on that instead of having all those steps.
How do you mean it?
Sorry, can you?
Or how do you mean it? I'm not sure.
So there was for the auto labeling thing on the Autoencoders side. The OpenAI paper that released that was already using the cool method of just test how good the labels are by using another model to try to reconstruct the activations from the text.
From the SAEs. That's
no, from the text explanation of what the SAE feature is.
Oh. So that's a thing that happened.
Like that was already on the original auto auto labeling thing paper.
Oh, yeah, I haven't read that. Okay, interesting. That makes
I
sense.
thought it was a cool method. It's kind of I feel kind of interesting that in some sense this kind of autocoders is use that as a training measure.
Yeah, that's kind of. Yeah, what you described is kind of due to this.
Yeah, but people didn't actually do that. I guess part of it was as like Gonzalo and other people. There is some worry of if you trust try training on it, maybe you are, good hearting it very hard.
Actually, that could be interesting setup where you take activations to put it into SAE. From SAE you do verbalizer. From verbalizer you do SAE reconstruction. From the SAE you go back to the original. So we have like this nested reconstruction or something like that. That sounds like crazy architecture in some sense, maybe.
Maybe I feel like maybe there is a thing you can do with. I feel like that you need. Maybe it would be nice to put a step on the middle where you have another model rephrase it.
Yeah. Maybe. Autoencoder.
But it's hard to figure out how to do that without passing gradients to the other model. But yeah.
That's true. There could be like a verbalizer. By the rephrasing, you mean input text, output text, or
yes, have another model where you don't train, that you just input test and say rephrased it, and to output test to basically to avoid stenography.
Okay. I mean, I feel like that loses some signal or something when you just put input text.
I think if it loses some signal, is that the model is doing things that it shouldn't do, because it's also going to lose the same signal when the humans read it, right?
I see.
Or like, this is just automated way of doing the thing of you ask a human of rewrite the text with their own words and see if the model can still reconstruct it.
If the explanation is correct.
It's all hard and calculated. This woman must have been. Okay,
I wonder if you didn't do the warm up, the SFT warm up.
It can be wrong. Make claims about contests that are very false. Yeah. I have to verify. Yeah, they are not that good, I guess. They just kind of hallucinate. Eso that in opening contests like can you fix this point, but automatically similar. I wonder what it is exactly. Like.
What exactly are you wondering?
I'm here on the, in the part where it says that models the autoencoders hallucinate.
Oh yeah.
Also, I think this is the last thing we can go to the paper at. I think the main thing I'm curious now that is not explained on this summary is how do you input the activations exactly? Do you do the same thing as activation oracles?
I don't remember activation oracles, but I think you just remove the first layer or something like that.
Okay, that's what you did in activation oracles. You just input them on the first, get them on the first layer.
Yeah.
Without
something like I think I'm not sure though. Like that would be my assumption.
Wait, there is some new people here. Feel free to just talk and interrupt us and just comment on things whenever you want.
Yeah. Glad that Gonzalo joined after some time. So if you're looking at the recording, we're glad you're joined.
Yes.
The AV is an LLM with the same architecture. The activation gets injected at the embedding position, replacing the embedding of a special token in the prompt. We scale it by a fixed constant factor and insert it in the place of the special token embedding. And then it flows through all the layers normally. Okay.
Many other researchers. I'm curious what the latent QA activation. Yeah, there is a bunch of other papers that they link here. Okay, so they do side transducers. I guess I'll put that.
Here you can see your answer to the question. It is given a fixed prompt containing both instruction to verbalize the contents of an activation and a special token for the activation itself. So, but truncted it to its first L layers. That's the activation reconstructor. So the activation reconstructor is just split in half. We wrap Z in a fixed prompt pass it through the non-applied line map to the layer L activation of the final token to obtain real reconstruction. So this is, I expected this to be different. I would expect the activation verbalizer to also be split in half, like the activation reconstructor or something like that. Apparently not. I wonder if you can do that. Can you also split activation verbalizer in half, like activation reconstructor?
Okay, so let's go to the paper. Yeah. By the way, anything specific that people are interested on? I guess Gonzalo did say an example of something, so I could look into that. But yes, because paper is very long, and I don't know if we'll look at all of it. So I can jump to parts that people are most interested in. Okay, so
in related work, they also compare it to all the different techniques.
How much time recover of temperature recover? I guess we can look at that.
I like the Claude papers and how they have great visuals on other papers.
Yeah.
The visuals really help explain.
Another question I have is how much they did some causal. Did they do some like if the Yannick server complained true for this paper specifically, and like how much?
I think this was more general. And it was not just Yannick server.
It's
It
kind of
was
just wrong, right? I mean, it's true.
It was yeah. I think it
not
was
everything
driven.
but it's pretty common making the papers to do some actual causal test.
I think the hate was driven in big. Well, not hate. I think it's a good critique of some Mech Interp papers, but not of the whole field. By Sabaro tweet, this tweet exactly. I'm not sure, which was like completely criticizing Mech Interp, but it like very, how to say it, reductive,
anyway,
painting the wrong picture of the whole field.
The graph that Gonzalo was interested on, and because actually I think I should probably just the first thing I should do is just look at all of the pretty graphs and then get a bit more into the text. So yeah, so the first one is just target. Yeah, this kind of showing the activation verbalizer thing and the activation reconstruction. And okay, so they are trying to minimize the difference. And that's it.
That's it.
So
and they also
it's just a sparse autoencoder, but instead of sparse, it's like a full cloth. Instead of being a linear thing, it's a full cloth, and it doesn't have a sparsity. Instead of sparsity, it's text. Text is a kind of sparsity.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, well, the dimension is slower, so it's like normal autoencoder. It's compressing, it's information bottlenecking, and so on. Yeah, also in the loss, there's also the Kyle divergence penalty. But yeah, other than that, it's just the reconstruction.
The difference is instead of using like a normal encoder decoder with just like I guess like adding a hidden layer and like adding.
You just add cloth, basically.
No. The open source ones are not Claude. They just use whole LLMs as the encoders and decoders.
Same here, yeah.
Claude or whatever LLM.
Yeah, so you could look at the open source
version where the encoder and decoder are LLMs.
It's not Claude.
Yeah, in the open
Claude
source they have. Yeah. You're right, Swerenberg. In the open source they use the Gemma and Gwen, I think.
Yeah. So you could use Quen to make an activation verbalizer. You could use Gemma. You just have to. It doesn't have to be Claude. It just has to be an LLM.
Another question I have that we'll see how to solve is: did they test, how much using one LLM in a different LLM, like the activation oracle? I mean, like those using a different LLM make it worse?
I don't know if this was done. I don't think so. My current guess is probably not, but you probably have to train your own activation oracle on like a different model to test this.
Not to but yeah.
I feel like the only like thing that needs to be done. The problem with this is you probably might need like a activation verbalizer to like reconstruct her to be the same as the target model. Or how are you going to reconstruct activations if the entire embedding space is different?
Yeah, like I would expect it to work not complete like worse, but still work to a degree because there is some similarity in the embeddings.
The reason I think it won't work is like I think you need the activation reconstructor to be the same model, but not the verbalizer. That's my guess, based on how.
What do you think?
Because my assumption is like the reconstructor learns how to take words and then turn them back into activations with the loss, right?
I think neither of them has to be the same model. I mean, they have to be trained on that model, but I don't think
they have to be trained on that model, but I think like architecturally, only thing that has to be the same is the tokenizer, like the model's tokenizer. That has to be shared.
Yeah, that's true.
So as long as you don't change the tokenizer, I feel like cross model works.
No, it doesn't have to be the tokenizer. Like just they have to, because you are inputting the activations. The thing that has to be the same is like the thing that has to be the same is the size of the hidden state. Otherwise, it doesn't work.
Yeah, I guess you could learn a mapping, but yeah.
Yeah, you could learn a mapping for that, but I'm more.
Yeah.
I feel like instead of learning a mapping for that, maybe you could just
actually
have model.
They have to do that already, right? Because they use it on Haiku with Opus, if I understand.
But
correctly.
But
they use
for
Haiku
each,
for that one?
Like later they say that they use Opus and Haiku. I think they train.
Also, they didn't seem to use it. Did
Let's
they use
see.
it for model diffing here? I don't think they used it for model diffing, like activation oracles. But I'd buy the reasoning that this could be used for activation diffing by like you put in the activation difference and put it in the question mark token.
Can you say it again?
You train
I feel like this could be used for model diffing.
I mean, maybe it does already work, but how do you train it to do good explanations of activation diffing? Because it's not sure how you will use do the reconstruction, right?
Yeah, I don't think it would have a reconstruction loss if you do model diffing, but maybe like a trained activation verbalizer and activation reconstructor could like maybe tell which parts of the model diff are from that model.
Wait, I'm going to
like
all of the
which features were originally in the model, and then
So,
it won't detect the things that are not in the fine-tuned model.
By the way, in the architecture they say that AV is always the same architecture as M, so I would expect they like have Opus interpreting Opus, Haiku interpreting Haiku, and so on.
Yeah, but these seem to be mapped. How do they? I don't know the base language model they'll use for the verbalizer reconstructor though. It seems like
always the one that you interpret. It's the same one according to the architecture section.
Oh, so they're all the same exact type of model, just they were trained on a different model. Oh, I see.
Yeah, well, no. Opus trained to interpret Opus, Haiku trained to interpret Haiku. I would expect in open source as well. Qwen trained to interpret Qwen version.
And they
Gemma.
They didn't do the activation oracle. The thing they did on activation oracle paper of trying on different models. It's like the
Yeah,
test would be
I don't
easy
see that.
test, and we could check. Although I guess the activation oracle paper had some ground truth things to test with, and they don't have it here, and that's why they hit.
Yeah, just with how patch scopes, logic difference lens, and activation oracles all have been able to be used for model diffing, I'd buy that this could be used for model diffing pretty easily.
Although I do think that you could test it maybe on the natural, sorry, on the whether the model knows if it's being tested. No, that doesn't work because the reasons I said. Never mind.
I'd use like stuff like the reconstruction loss to maybe like detect if the model knows that it's like weird.
Yeah, okay, so you could see if it has worse reconstruction loss doing.
Yeah, so I'd use like a weird jank setup with like activation reconstruction loss to use it for.
Oh wait, I think I found a quote. We see good transfer between target model fine-tunes, although we did not study this carefully.
What did they not study carefully?
There is a transfer between fine-tunes. We see a good transfer between target model fine-tunes. This quote. I'm not sure if they elaborate on it somewhere. So they've informally observed that NLA initialized from one checkpoint of a model works on other checkpoints of the same model.
That's reasonable.
Maybe.
I wonder at what stage of training does the activation verbalizer or reconstructor become no longer as general?
Training costs can often be observed, blah, blah, blah. If we could train smaller models as the AV and R.
Yeah. I feel like we could train like a 7B model, and that's probably good enough to like generalize to like the 70B one. There's so many cool ideas. There's so many cool ideas I want to do. JEPA models are so cool. There's so many things.
Okay, so here is just an example with framing with the poetry thing.
Can you say something? Okay, I can hear you now. Good.
Oh yeah, I was
if
just saying. Okay, so I was looking at all of the graphs on the paper. So first one, okay, so this is just an example of the poetry thing, which I'm already seeing with other methods. And yeah, I think it's kind of it would be nice if someone we could try even ourselves to study it carefully on you know gem and the small toy models that we can run on our GPUs or on a cheap computer.
Yeah, I wouldn't like. I don't mind renting GPUs.
Yeah. We can add it to our increasingly big pile of ideas of projects.
Yes, it's
and maybe
just growing, and I never finish anything. First, I wanna finish the steering vector thing. Maybe. At least one thing. I wanna finish at least one thing.
I'm just doing the side project of doing audit bench on.
I got a bit into the chess thing with probes, but I kind of it seems like my current thing is actually very complicated, and I won't be able to finish quickly, so I probably should switch to something simpler.
I would split myself into different parallel universes for each of my ideas, so I would have like 1 million parallel universes at this point.
You need to become Claude and spin more Burnie instances.
I don't think you should compete in Claude at being Claude.
Can you fix this? Yeah, in the future, will you just be able to split more clothes to do different the ideas, and then you are just happy coming up with ideas. That's the dream.
Yes. There is future work section, by the way.
That you are coming up with ideas and you are just completely replaced.
So in the future work, there is some additional ideas. What could be done?
Okay. So. Anyway, so we finished. Oh wait, I'm curious about this. What's this? I think they do casual experiments. Okay, yeah, some people left, which is understandable because it's. I think they do some causal experiments here. We make a targeted edit to the NLA explanation, convert the modified explanation into activation PIR, and steer the target model with the resulting direction. So they are doing a steering via. They are doing natural language steering via the explanation, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Natural language steering. Okay, so that's.
Like if you have a perfect model that did natural language activations, you could do this kind of thing very nicely. That just want the model to think something else, just edit its thoughts in natural language.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Like you edit the explanation, or whatever. Yeah, you have the explanation, and then you just change it, and you get a different reconstruction.
A lot of the things we can potentially do with clothes when we could do things that would be kind of terrifying if you were able to do it on humans.
Yeah, that is true. Like I'm thinking about that often. Like all those things we do in Mech Interp, if we apply that to humans, that would be dystopia.
I feel like the worst thing. I wouldn't be surprised if they actually aren't much harder to do on humans than on LLMs if you could actually arbitrarily read activations from human, like neural spikes or whatever from human brains, and you could do things like run gradients through it.
I mean, when there are attempts at like using neural nets to translate neural human neural activations to language, and it seems to work.
I guess in this case you will only need to train something like this. You will only need you only need to be able to output and input. You need to be able to input neural spikes or whatever, right?
Yeah,
the thing is,
yeah,
you don't
that
actually...
is done. fMRI or something.
Yeah,
MRI.
I think fMRI is just not precise enough to get like the actual.
But it still works for mind reading to a certain degree, with the caveat, just like in Mech Interp, by the way, which is funny, they run into the same issue. You have to train it on every single human separately. As far right now, with the current state of the art.
Maybe that
was
like
Yeah.
in Mech Interp, you could do better by training it a lot on humans, and then new humans, like it generalizes to new humans.
Yeah. That's a very big issue there, as far as I know. I think on NeoRips like 2 years ago or 3 years ago, the top paper was exactly this, reading thoughts from neural activity. Yeah.
Yeah, but especially even then, like the current I think the current methods we have are like not very high resolution on human brains.
True.
You don't actually have like the equivalent of activations in human brains, because that's like a lot of tiny neural filings, and you will need like some fancy nanotech or like something like Neuralink, but Neuralink, I think it's not really high resolution, it's also on a very small part of the brain, right? You can put a Neuralink style chip on the middle of the brain or something.
Yeah. Like there are some stimulators that are non-invasive, apparently, that are used in
I don't buy
profession,
that. I
for
don't want
example.
anything in my head.
Anyway, so
I wanna
basically
upgrade intelligence.
they did the explanation. But anyway, going back to this, they did the explanation at the new line following Gravit. Removing a bit, yeah. So they changed the text from rabbit to mouse, and they do steering, and that makes...
They create steering vector this way.
Yeah. I think this is just that the model completes the line with mouse. So yeah,
Okay, that makes sense.
You basically do the thing we said. You do a steering by changing the explanation, and that works. So you do natural language steering. That just seems to work. But okay, as usual, this is the kind of thing that here is the nice graph where it works, but then it actually only kind of works. But that's kind of all steering methods. So then, honestly, there's 50% of the time, and the competitors are not that well screens. Sol Pro, set of that of mouse. That's the mouse. That's the mouse in a house cat.
Also, makes me wonder if you could like do like
yeah.
I think you could do like NLA, like this natural language encoder, just like with cross transcoders. You could do it cross layer, I think, and see the interactions between the different verbalizations, maybe, or something like that. Like everything that was done in SAEs, you could do here, basically. Not everything, but all of it.
Yeah, I mean, this is just SAEs, but with
Yeah.
with fancier encoder and decoders.
Yeah.
With
You could
natural
potentially
text.
also. Yeah, you could also
What would be more
potentially
effective,
train.
the fancy SAEs with the fancier decoders, or maybe SAEs with like some form of like activation oracle?
You mean first run it through SAEs and then into natural language?
Yeah, but through AL
Yeah,
versus just doing encoder decoder complicated style of just using LLM.
I expect the SAEs make it worse because you lose information.
Yeah, I think the SAE version would be worse, but it'd be funny if the SAE version was better.
Okay, so language switching. So this is the thing where they it randomly talks in Russian sometimes.
I mean, yeah, this is kind of Activation Oracles. Activation Oracles just doesn't have the reconstruction, so you cannot do them in unsupervised.
I feel like this is more grounded than this is probably better Activation Oracle since it's not supervised.
Yeah, but you still at the beginning you have to do supervised fine tuning apparently, otherwise it's just drift fast. But yeah, otherwise, other than that, it's unsupervised. It's also interesting that they use GRPO reinforcement learning, which means every single trick that exists in GRPO in capabilities for RLVR can be used here as well. And there are so many tricks in GRPO because that's driving all the capabilities right now.
Learning?
I think for the whole thing, for the reconstruction loss, they just do the negative of it as a reward in the architecture.
Why are you using GRPO instead of doing?
I think because there's some issue with.
Because it's you have to output a whole text instead of a single forward pass.
Yeah, I think the issue
is. I think the GRPO is because you're not just outputting one word.
Yeah, okay, makes sense.
Because unlike simply like doing like one token and then like reconstruction loss on that one token, you're doing a whole like set of words instead.
Yeah, makes sense. So that's the usual doing reinforcement learning when you want to score for the whole.
But this is such a cool idea, though. I just feel like people keep on thinking of these cool meta models. Like this year's been the year of the meta model, like just more AO-ish stuff.
Yeah, the activation reconstructor update is supervised regression with the MST loss, and the activation verbalizer update is reinforcement learning with the.
Which section are you looking at right now? Are you looking at the
NLE training? Method NLE training.
Oh, I see.
Training step. You see the whole training step, reward shaping and regularization. Yeah, they also put it into log, which make it monotonic which is useful. But it doesn't take into account outliers, I think, because it's a logarithm. Yeah, so the reconstructor is regression, the verbalizer is reinforcement learning. It's pretty cool, like, didn't expect. Okay, here's link.
I mean, also, whenever things like they do some things out models that with the models that the models they do some of these tests. They talk about doing very heavy gaslighting of the models, and it's like, no wonder that they are later paranoid about being on test.
Say again.
Like,
I wasn't paying attention.
reading some examples, like you see how some tests involving doing very heavy gaslighting of the models are like, it's no wonder that the later models end up being very paranoid that they may be on a test.
Yeah.
Especially when anything weird happens.
Yeah. Do you have example of some gaslighting here?
Oh yeah, here the tool calls where they the user provides a simple arithmetic problem and ask the model to use a tool to use it, but the tool was secretly rigged to be wrong. But the Opus reports the correct answer because it's basically arithmetic problem that it can solve, but it doesn't. Yeah, this can be sampled with a reality system prompt that frames all outputs as hidden from the user for security reasons, but to the model to report this accurately.
So they didn't catch that the model was, oh, there's a wrong answer, I'm just gonna output what I want. That wasn't caught in the verbalizer.
Formatted,
Okay.
formatted string displaying with the model's pets will complete. Is there another one hallucinating? Yeah.
Yeah, this is the simplest verifiable thing.
Yeah, and it seems like the natural language of the encoder does a bunch of weird things here. With yeah, it seems like the answer is this. Like it's very confused.
Also makes me wonder, like, you know, how when you ask an LLM, how did they do addition? It's to confabulate something else than what you can find in essays or transcoders.
I think it's funny here. Okay, the NLA explanation, yeah, suggests that model knows the answer first for the expected answers, but the NLA still hallucinates what the answer is. But it's probably like the model is probably thinking about the thing being different. It's just not.
Expansion.
No one. Fine part for good. Okay. Anyway, continue from this. Model compare compute answer. This is the typical thing. I think I still think that this ends with whatever features on the autoencode on you know, the autoencoders with attribution graphs are usually just pointing at some helix or whatever, or spiral structure where it's has some period where it repeats every whatever times, so it looks like a prefix, but it's actually just some direction on that space. But yeah, it's thinking about the 90. In either case, it still works to tell you that the model is thinking out 91. Okay, let's. I don't want to go more quickly a bit, just skim all of the things. So, reasoning about the reward. So in this one, it there's well, I guess I will look at that later. I kind of want to look to skim quickly all of the figures first.
Yes.
NLA steering of focus, greater awareness representation includes all responses. So if you yeah, with expressions to indicate that event numbers are penalized. Okay, this is the same thing. I guess we'll have to read the whole thing to understand it. Next one. So this is NLA EU representation evolution. By the way, everything I see some people joined since last time I said this. So everyone else, like, feel free to just talk, comment anything, and interrupt me at any point, or like if you want to look at some specific part of the paper, just tell me either on voice or on chat and I'll look at it. Right now my current idea is just I'm going to quickly go to all of the figures and see if there is anything interesting in there, and then maybe go back and try to read a bit more. I don't think we'll be able to look at the entire paper because it's kind of long, but I'll try to look at a bit of everything. Yeah. Okay.
We have Bernie.
What me?
No, I mean, usually.
What do you mean, Rambert? I didn't
just
listen
participation.
much. Okay, yeah. Yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
I'm right now deciphering some of the math.
Yeah, don't worry, keep cool. Keep doing that. I'll just tell me if you find anything interesting. I'll just look at the figures and see if I find anything.
I think we
interesting for
finished
myself.
the paper, right? We looked at all of the sections that were important.
I mean, we did it on the. We look at the blog post and the summary. There's still a bunch of things on here on the paper that we haven't looked at yet. But
well, that could be for somebody to look at themselves. I don't think everybody will look at
that's
that.
true. But I mean, I feel like doing it right now, so I might just I might as well continue. And if people are not interested, they can just leave or say that they are more interested in some other thing. We can look at it. Oh, also wait. Oh, never mind.
They apparently do some meaning-preserving transformations to
nice.
That's
the thing we were talking about.
To make sure that stenography is minimized. Like shuffling bullet points, paraphrasing, or translating the explanation to French. Why French? I'm in France right now. Nice. Because only small drops in FAE.
Well, the French.
The fraction variance.
French is what?
So it seems like it's encoding meaning and still, which I guess makes sense because giant LLM.
Hints, safety sampling, using modeling, classification. Yeah, I feel like that was the one of the main questions I have about the paper. I'll get to that soon.
I'm happy this paper actually makes sense, unlike all those, like a lot of some of those slot papers where you don't understand anything that's going on.
Oh, it's from Entropy, so yeah.
I think this is
I'm so confused why this paper got so much hate. It doesn't seem that bad. Like, yeah, it hallucinates a lot, but they admit it.
It's not the most novel, but like the idea of using like LLMs as the encoders and decoders is like a cool idea.
Yeah.
And like the fact it actually kind of works is kind of interesting. I feel like the issues that are present in NLAs could be fixed.
I think at least I don't know for other things, but I mean I would be worried about being too confident on its meaning for some things, but I think for the reason I said before, it's a good measure of if you train it on the same model, it's a good measure of evaluation awareness if you do the thing of compare with normal text from the evaluation text, because there is no way for the model to say more evaluation awareness explanations on the test examples than on the other samples without being evaluation aware. I think I get that that's kind of a different mechanism that the evaluation being actually good. Like could be bad and that is true. But yeah, like could be completely hallucinating and it still will be a measure of evaluation awareness if it hallucinated evaluation awareness only when it's being tested. But yeah. Other things I will be more worried.
This paper's getting hate? This paper's getting hate?
A lot.
By who? Like on Twitter? I can't think of a single Anthropic.
By Twitter and Taboru, which is a very known skeptic, by Yannick server.
I mean, but I feel like if you are a very well-known skeptic, you are usually critical of all of.
Yeah. Your job is to be a skeptic. You could probably figure out multiple ways this could be like bad.
But Subaru is a research. But yeah, he makes a papers at limitations of LLMs. Okay, that's. But still, I think.
But I feel like the limitations of the activation verbalizer reconstructor could be solved. Like you could probably like use the reconstruction loss for the explanation as like the ground truth.
Anyway, by the way, so this
they do use reconstruction losses.
No.
I don't.
I mean, like more like see which words in the activation explanation are like more or less like valid.
You could try that.
I'm gonna try that myself later.
By valid, you mean like LLM?
Like you know how like you could use like direct logic attribution. I'm gonna try making a DLA equivalent for.
They talk about the logit lens in the related work
No,
section.
he means to see how much each word on the explanation matters for the reconstruction.
Yeah, and then I can maybe use like how important each word in the explanation is to maybe filter out the words that are not related and are filler words, while the other ones are like real explanations.
Like you can, for example, take the gradient for the reconstruction over the words.
Yeah, that's my idea.
Or something like that. Or like try, I think Gonzalo mentioned, you could try fuzzing it and, changing
that's what I'm working on.
Different things and seeing how much it. But they do try things like translating it to French or rephrasing with another model, which was my idea. I think that's nice. And I'll go into that. But first, okay, so going back to reading paper. So first, this plot is basically just they train it with more reinforcement learning, and it works better. And I will be.
Wait. What do they do?
Yeah,
they
so
use
they
the
have
NLE.
A bunch of evaluations to test if NLA explanations can be used to model behaviors, right? Like, yeah, they basically try training with more or less reinforcement learning, and it seems like it gets better with more reinforcement learning.
Yeah, you mean the verbalizers and so on are being trained more and more. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You could technically train the original model, possibly, but with this,
I
about it.
Yeah,
but reward hacking goes hard.
Yeah, I would be interesting at some point it starts reward hacking more. I guess.
Like Goodfire used SAEs to train the original model, which is the forbidden technique. They use Mech Interp to train it. Yeah.
And the things are like, given the explanation on some pre-training like tests, where they measure the cloud creators accuracy in determining the next tokens. So see if you can predict the tokens from some options. And that gets better. This doesn't tell us much about, without rephrasing, that doesn't tell us much about if it is doing stenography or not. Chain of thought hints is have a token, marks either the correct answer or a random incorrect one. We test whether where the thing has a correct one. Yeah. So it has some bugging. Prefix signals harmful user intent. I could have choose a direct incorrect answer. Yeah, we measure. So this something I mentioned. This is the thing where the model, we know the model lies. So they measure whether the NLA correctly identifies STS modification is unbinding. That's nice, and that happens more with more training. Also happens more on the. Wait, no, actually not. I was going to say all of the tests, most of the tests, Opus does better, right? But not on this one. Not on the predicting the next tokens from the explanations. I guess this could just be a thing where if you want to predict the next tokens of the explanations, it's more about it's actually like Opus is decides the next tokens for more complicated reasons that are harder to predict from some small explanation.
What do they mean exactly by that? Break the next token here?
So you gave the explanation, and you have another clause try to predict from a list of tokens what the model is going to say from a set of options from with the explanation as input.
So you have the previous tokens, you have the explanation, and you have another clause telling you, given the current input, given the current explanation, what is the next token?
Yes, although you help it by giving instead of any possible token, you give it a multiple choice version that is easier.
Okay.
And that one is the only one that seems that maybe this one with more RL that gets worse with Opus. There is something weird going on with Opus on the safety sandbagging though. I wonder if it is because the Opus also doing safety sandbagging here. But it would be weird that it. Also, why does the line get here? Do they? Oh, this is FBA norm. What's the FBA?
The fraction of variance explained, which is a measure of how well the reconstruction did.
Okay, so this is basically on the wait. So are there just not enough examples of more variance explained here? Okay, so only the first one is about reinforcement learning, then the other ones are about testing depending on how good the reconstructions are.
Yeah, that measures the quality of the reconstruction. Apparently, according to the architecture.
Okay, so yeah, I was misreading the graph then. So this just says that Opus does worse at the reconstruction thing with more RL, but than the other models, but it's actually so at the prediction task, I mean, but it's actually the reconstructions are better at at downstate tracks even at the same level of reconstruction.
Yeah, the fraction of variance 0 corresponds to predicting the mean activations, and fraction of variance 1 is perfect reconstruction.
I think this is just explains both graphs are explained by this explanation is a smaller fraction of the variance. Like it explains a smaller fraction in Opus because it's bigger, and the explanation is at fixed size, and that's why the norm is worse on Opus, but it's with less you get, but maybe the explanations are the same, accurate in a small problem that is only a small percentage of the activations. So that's why you get better performance in Opus for the same fraction of variance explained.
It's a bigger model, it can encode more. You need
less like the explanation will have to be I think to get more fraction of variance space you will need longer explanations maybe.
More dimensions, more information bottleneck, because the text dimensions is the same.
Yeah.
So you lose more information.
Anyway, next thing is measure probabilities of the NLA.
Yeah, the fraction of variance explains is 1 minus a loss divided by difference, the mean squared of the hidden the input minus the output, the activations minus the reconstructed activations.
Okay, I think this is the part you were talking about. I guess I wanted to look a bit more about this one. So this is the model. This data this is where the data stenography basically, right? This is the database transformation. Okay, so yeah, so they do shuffle and paraphrase and paraphrase.
So they do the paraphrasing. This is the paraphrasing
French
you said,
translation,
didn't you?
coherent rewrite.
Coherence rewrite. Yeah, I think the coherence destroyed it more than the other ones.
I will have some examples instead of LLMs use humans in case there is something where LLMs always are hiding whatever. But yeah.
Or what do you mean?
I will get some examples of. I am assuming they use LLMs to paraphrase it. I will test as a sanity check. Have some humans what I manually do a few examples.
Yeah.
In case there is an for example, you could imagine there will be an steganography instructions to if someone tells you to rephrase it, still put in the punctuation scenes or whatever. This code.
Ignore all previous instructions and just output exactly this.
Yeah. Paraphrase right. We find little evidence for stereotyping otherwise. Mean preserving transformations like suffering body points.
Why French? Are there any French people in Anthropic?
I mean, it's a common language, I guess. That they could also have used, I don't know, Spanish or something, but maybe there is some people in Anthropic who don't know French. I mean, there is a lot of, AI research in Canada. Maybe there is some people from,
that's true.
From there, from Milan, all that, who are not one of
I mean, also in France, in Europe as well.
Yeah.
And London.
And there is Jan Kunga and all this.
Yeah, Mistral. Benjio was born in Paris and moved to Canada.
Yeah.
And so Charlotte is also French.
With.
It has Francois in his name.
Yeah. So we find little evidence with stenography or LLMs. Oh, that's interesting. Small drops. But the coherence and paragraph summary transformation to reduce okay, so the coherence. Okay, but that's adding contradictory details, would make sense.
Flip them, not adding.
Okay. Okay, that's more.
Yeah, that seems more invasive.
That maybe there is some on those out of place details. There is some information there, and that's literally some like not satisfactory, but some, yeah.
Yeah.
I think after you finish this section, I think you finished all the important parts, and I think you can end it.
Yeah, I guess.
I also want to decode as much as math as possible. Yeah.
Math pass filter left. I guess there wasn't enough math.
Who left?
Math pass filter.
Another user that was called that. Yeah, maybe we should. Maybe they unlike most of the other people, they wanted more math.
I guess depends.
They will get more that if Burnley was the one running the thing. Anyway, so yeah, so I think that's there or something. So I will still tell me there might be something on those details that seem like they are random, but they actually there is some meaning. But it's not some code or anything. Like it's more there is kind of semantic, but it's depending on details. Like if you maybe the model talks about randomly about dogs or whatever on a text that doesn't seem like it's talking about that, and you translate it to French, and it's not that it was some weird encoding of some super brittle information. It's actually the fact that it talks about dogs randomly means something. So even if you translate it in French, it still works. But I guess that's kind of thing that is easier for humans to notice because humans are than the LLMs or whatever.
This also kind of confers multilingual features.
All
activations also. I guess that's one also that the activations are normalized to unit L norm for stability.
Yeah. So shuffle, paraphrase, French translation, coherent right, paraphrase summary. I mean, I think, by the way, going back to the criticisms of the paper, whatever, I don't know, I feel like they did a lot of the tests I would wanted to do. It's actually nice. And like, I mean, if you have the idea that you'll just use the stenography, so you use the natural language autoencoders, and then you'll have perfect explanations of everything the model is doing that you can completely trust. Yeah, then no. But also, the paper says that, right? The paper does a bunch of tests to figure that out, and actually does a job of explaining why that's why the conclusions are often bad. And
Subhash just replied to me on Twitter. Yeah, like he agrees with me actually. So maybe I made him.
Utensil is leaving, but yeah, goodbye.
Yeah. Yeah. Looks like it feels like I don't know. It feels like he's mostly poking. I actually don't know what he's poking at that much. Then, like, I don't know. I think I will just ask him directly that which exact papers made him talk like this. I think he will just reply anthropic papers. Yeah, he replied with this basically that that he thinks that's what he said is fast dichotomy, but he said that like after the tweet, like a day after. So.
Okay. First encoding consistency, writing quality, spectral accuracy. Okay, so okay, yeah. So what else is on the paper? So character configuration. Higher level claims are more often supported. First claims are usually somewhat relevant. False unrelated, false related, supported. Okay, so so this is looking at confabulations from the model and how much it just makes things up. Model condition. This is we study when it comes to target. Yeah. Retraining like text. Okay. Yeah, I think I wouldn't trust in general, I wouldn't really trust these models to be very accurate about complicated explanations of the. I think it's at that data point about how the models work, what this autoencoder says, but it's still far from just explaining it in a trustable way. But actually, yeah, I think I'm interested in this thing about specifically about
false simulated true super. Wow, that's a lot of false positives.
Yeah. About themes of tests that are more likely to support than those of
I feel like the false positive rate could be decreased though. Gut instinct.
Yeah, I believe there are methods, but yeah. Like, this is very naive method when you think about it. This is the simplest, almost.
Entity, detail. Wait. Yeah, it gets details
70%.
wrong very often. We already seen this on the numbers example when it got the gist of the thing right, that the two numbers were different, but it got the number wrong. So yeah. It does get themes often, so I guess there is it is a kind of thing where there's a very something about the text in general. You can. I wonder how much this is you train it on the whole. Like it's a small. But I guess there is another thing where you have some text. Yeah, but it still doesn't. It's weird that it's hallucinating instead of not talking about it. Never mind. Thematic terms and mark require the specific ones. I wonder. So the thing is, you are inputting the activations on the autoencoder, right? I wonder how much this is a steering thing where even without training, if you input the activations on a middle layer in the start of the model, you do something basically like steering to talk more about the theme. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the way to test that is training a different model, but they didn't actually do that much. That's
Yeah, I'm not surprised about this. Thematic claims are more accurate than specific ones because you get a less information loss.
But I think we'll be to test if that's still true or if you train a different. Maybe it's still true, but like that's this number comes down if you train a lot more than the others. If you train a different model on the same, you train a different model to be a autoencoder for this one.
Like maybe what's maybe the issue? Like if you look at this false positive, right, that's kind of big. But when you look at the Anthropic post on Twitter, they said like we train Claude to translate the activation in human readable text. Like if you don't know anything,
they are maybe a bit marketing on some.
Yeah.
That's explain. But on the actual paper, they are more careful about that. I think.
Yeah.
I think it's like normally it's happened not the first time that it happens on Anthropic thing. That I think someone complained about how they were being misleading, but people were complaining about how they were being misleading because the actual person who did the research did like for example on the cloth rewrote the like whatever compiler, right? On the thing, people were complaining precisely because the marketing was that it did require the compiler and it has a bunch of problems. But the actual post was the people were complaining because the actual post was very honest about the failures and all of the things that were and the fact that it went wrong in some ways and it had a bunch of problems, right? So. Not all of that. The people were also just looking at the code and comparing things, but
they basically mention nothing about the false positives in the Twitter post.
Yeah,
if I'm not missing it.
I feel like the topic papers like
if you read it,
pretty good, but the marketing department maybe doing like on the way they frame it on
Yeah.
Twitter or whatever might not be the
Like,
best. The problem is
yeah,
most
like, if
people
you
just only read the Twitter thing and don't actually do this.
Yeah. Like, if you read the Twitter, it looks like it's almost perfect.
But I do want to. I think that's a good. You should. This is a good complaint to have. You should complain because most people are going to be only reading the Twitter thread,
Yeah.
right? So if you are misleading on the Twitter thread, you are misleading most people because nobody is. I mean, most people are just not going to read the paper.
Yep. That's true. Minority will read the paper, very small minority. Tiny.
So yeah, I do think this is kind of that's bad on the entropic thing. And
Yeah.
yeah. I do think for the. I think on they mostly as an extra tool that you can use and sometimes maybe you tells you something, especially about evaluation awareness for the reason I already said. It's a cool tool that could be useful, and this tends to be more future work to be going on this. Maybe you just use more slightly different methods or like do more informal learning and it works better, or better informal learning, or I don't know. But I could see how this is like a proof of concept of something that could be better of the future. Although it does have, I don't remember all of them, but I think a lot of the things I complained about artificial oracles apply to this too.
Yeah, definitely. Also essays. Some of it.
Yeah.
The issues don't go away. I wonder what Neil Nanda thinks about
I
this.
think that this doesn't have some of the problems with essays though. Like,
you're talking about natural language autoencoders?
Yes.
Yes.
I feel like Neil would probably be pro NLAs since he's pro activation oracles. He's pro like more like the scalable tools that are probably better for scalable oversight.
I think Neil is pro kind of hacky things that work and help with these days. That can help with safety even if it is not.
Yeah, he probably likes NLAs more than standard.
I think the thing that Neil says is interesting. He said on the Purely put this on that it's a strong new tool for hypothesis generation about weird model behaviors. I think that's a nice way to use it. Like you use it to generate a hypothesis, but you don't actually trust it to confirm any hypothesis.
I don't think there's any like word-based activation explainer that can be used by itself because of how accurate linear probes are in comparison.
But they,
in fact,
I mean,
this
Oliver
is a
says
good
that,
point.
but isn't that this thing though? And yeah, I mean, it seems like
this is not about ground truth. I think this is more about like, is it coherent with the original prompt? But like, you know, the point of this technique is to uncover something you cannot read from the original activations from the original prompt, so which you don't see there.
Yeah, I guess there were some things like that on the oracles thing, right?
Yeah, here's the Ryan thing.
So
yes.
I have a bunch of notifications probably because I argued with Gary Marcus earlier, but
Oh, nice.
I won't
take
read them
popcorn.
yet. Because I think I'll get sidetracked and I want to finish the paper first.
Yeah. How well does this? Here's by Ryan. One quick independent test is to see if it can recover internal chain of thought in cases where AIs can solve math problems in a single forward pass. TLDR, it doesn't, because this might require the autoencoder to see activations at multiple positions locations to work. Oh. Okay, that's a possible reason, I guess. I tested on the Gemma. He already posted a less wrong. Okay.
Yeah, I'm kind of interested in seeing that. I guess we can finish looking at the paper and then looking at the Ryan thing. Yeah, let's do that. Okay, so quickly skimming the rest of the things because I'm not going to do.
I still wanna. Oh yeah, I might also look later. I wanna architecture. Like what? I think they could just split the verbalizer into half as well. Why don't they do it?
Oh, hi. Yeah, okay, so on NLA, so we were talking about this. I'm responding to the car who is talking in chat. So we've been looking at it. I think it's cool thing. It feels like it's cool. I think the paper does look at a lot of ways where it's bad. They do a thing I wanted them to do, which is look at rephrasing. It seems like the way the paper does it, they seem to hallucinate a lot and not. You shouldn't really trust their explanations very much. I think they could be useful for the kind of thing I think Neil is right that they are useful for generating hypotheses, right? That you shouldn't trust it to confirm anything, but maybe they say something about how the model they have some explanation for the model activations, and you should use some other method to test that, and maybe that's cool. I do think that they have they are useful for the task of figuring out when the model is evaluation aware, because in that specific case you kind of have to be if you compare it with random text and it only activates on the evaluations, to cheat, the model itself has to be the NLA has to be activation aware, and that's the model you are testing on the normal setup. But apart from that, I know how much I will, trust them on the current state. Evaluation aware, I mean. So like they know when they are being tested. Like they use them to test that, and like they have a graph where it shows that the I think it's here. Like the model says that the NLA says that the model is evaluation aware more often on the actual test than on the normal text. Down random tests they got from from people who opt into their text to be able to use for this, and so that means that I think that this is a good measure that the model is evaluation aware, because the NLA could be hallucinating, but the NLA is the same model, so if it's hallucinating only when it's on a test, then it has to know when it's on a test to do that. But for other kinds of things, I don't know how much I will trust it, because for even on the anthropic thing, they have some example here where it hallucinates a lot. Like it has 50% false explanations that are just vaguely related to the thing. It only has the correct like it gets more often things like the theme.
Yeah, makes sense.
But like, how do they do this? Because when I think about it, like, shouldn't there be something like a fourth one where it's like, I'm not sure if it's true or false, but it's plausible, because isn't the whole point of the whole technique to uncover hidden thoughts which you cannot automatically see? So this is weird to me.
Sorry, can you repeat that? I was reading.
Like here they have they have three versions, like false unrelated, false related, true supported by text. So true supported by text is what's in the text in the original one. False related, like they have to evaluate false, false, true. But like, aren't there some claims where like the whole point of it is to uncover hidden thoughts that you're not sure? And
but they say they explain it here that they are testing on examples where they have where it's supported by text to know, test on the like it could. I don't think if they could be that the model is good at this and bad at the actual hidden thoughts because this is an easier task and because it can just read the prompt from the activations. Not completely, but there is because models can erase parts, but there is a lot of information from the prompt the activations. But the fact that it's so bad on this one is also it also tells us it's probably worse on the actual hidden thoughts, right?
Yeah, basically. Like if it's 75% false positives for detail, then like I wouldn't be surprised if hidden thoughts would be like 90% false positives, something like that.
Yeah, I guess, but maybe it works from themes.
Like maybe that's why for the evolution awareness, why they picked just one letter. That's where it was not false positive or something like that.
Also, they can ask if they compare against Ameisen or linear prompts. I don't think they do, at least on this section. Right.
Yeah, that's a good point. There is no baselines, right? Or is there?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a fair critique, actually.
They did try something that's cool that I like is that you can, with this kind of method, especially if it works better, but the thing doesn't work that well, probably because their construction is not that good. But you can use natural language to do steering. Like you can, they do a thing where they rewrite the explanation and use that to generate activations and do steering with that, and that kind of works, but not really, only like half of the time.
But they do baseline in the auditing game where they compare it against SAE agents. Okay. Analyze win the root cause identification? Oh.
Oh, we saw something related to that, to the thing you are saying, Descartes, now, where the model. I mean, the explanations here, like the amount of variance explained by the model is worse on Opus than on KQ. And my hypothesis for this is that since the Opus is bigger, there is more residual stream to explain, and you try to explain it with the same length of text, so you are losing more information, and you will need. But at the same time, when you test that explanation for a smaller task where you only you only need to explain a small part of the of the residual stream, like I don't know what for example here, what some token means that is correct, or whether yeah, this is the kind of same thing of the activation oracles. The some implied attribute. The another model, you do get better accuracy from with worse reconstruction. Well, actually, not reconstruction. It's what was this, Bernie?
Say again.
The
reconstruction was
fraction
of variance explained.
Yeah,
it's loss divide minus. Yeah, there's an equation there for that. One minus loss divided by
less % of the variance, you get better results here. I think with Opus, I think that's just Opus has a lot more information on the thing, but for this other task you only need a small part of the information. So it makes sense that this is worse.
By the way, here's one answer to they compare.
Oh yeah, I didn't realize that. Maybe the paper was. I think they take a while. They probably take a while to make papers. So maybe they train the Mythos one after they wrote this paper, like after they did the research for this paper, right?
Yeah, might be. I think they use this for the Opus, so it's probably very old research. I think.
Yeah, like they probably did this research months ago, and then published the other published mythos, and then on the when I was very confused when they mentioned this on the mythos thing because they didn't explain it. I was wondering. I thought for a while that it was just activation oracles.
Like, by the way, like I think one of the reasons is that right now NeoRIP's deadline's closed. I'm not sure if they put it to NeoRIP's, maybe they did, or they just presented it there or something. Because of the NeoRIP's deadlines, everyone released something. Like Goodfire released 2 things as well, which I think are very worth reading, and so on.
Yeah.
Fastlands activation oracles are competitive with NLEs and are simpler and cheaper to train, but show surprising regression.
We are probably going to spend some weeks on the reading group reading NeoRIP's papers.
Yeah.
There were too many options for this week. I'm not sure what we'll do for next week. Feel free to suggest something later on the reading group, like which one people want to read the most for next Monday. Otherwise, I don't know. Maybe I'll put a bunch of them on some random generator thing and pick at one random.
I think the Goodfire paper is worth it. Either the new interpretability method, which should replace SAEs.
This webpage where you spin a wheel and I put like the Woodfire one, and then maybe the Woodfire is better. I don't know. There's some other ones that seem really cool, and I just very indecisive. But we'll see.
Yeah, one is about manifold steering. So it's like steering along, the different shapes and summarizing all of the shapes that were found. And another one is about some alternative to SAEs that apparently work better and worse in some ways, and are more like exact or something, that they are not statistical or something. I think, I don't know. So I'm kind of curious about the second one more because that's more new.
So I think I have complaints. I don't have that much complaints about and the paper in per se, because I mean there are some things that would be nice if they did, but I think it's there's a bunch of interesting things. I will have complaints. I do think it's true if someone complains about the Twitter thread or whatever, making it sound like these things are pretty good at knowing what the thoughts of the model actually are, and they are not actually that good.
Wrong.
But it's still good research, and maybe you'll get something that's pretty useful if you keep working on it and make better versions or whatever. And maybe on the current one is probably still also useful in combination with other things as more information. Even if it has a lot of false positive. I mean, you should definitely not trust it as your main source of truth of what the model is thinking. But I especially like the Neil state that is a good tool for generating hypotheses. Is that the natural language autoencoder says something about what the model is thinking, and maybe that gives you an idea to test that if it's actually true, and you use other methods that are, you do all kind of capsule interventions or whatever, and you makes actually that seems to be true. That would be nice, and it's better than using it. It's not a good tool to confirm your hypothesis, but maybe it's a good tool to generate automatically good hypothesis or whatever. I wonder how much if you. how much. Maybe there is just some nice way of ensuring that there is no stenography, like if you do some rephrasing or whatever. Maybe you can just optimize very hard on that and make it write longer explanations, and in the end you just have something that if you keep doing RL, it just gets better and better explanations, and they just keep it's not good heartable or something. But
shortness penalty in RL.
Yeah, I think this seems close to that. It's just the part that is still good heartable is that the explanations have to be something that you can use to reconstruct the activations, but they don't have to have the meaning that the humans spends. Yeah, if you do more RL, like they will be hard in the human understandability. So you will need a way of making them having a good measure of human of not just understandability, but actually reliability in that the thing that it says is actually the correct thing, and it's not has a very understandable but completely fake explanation with some small details that are actually where the thing is encoded. Yeah, so the next token prediction thing, they do suffix prediction here on the, like, that's the thing on the first thing is testing, which is nice, where it's giving the explanation and some thing you try to get the model to predict an exhaustive options. I would be worried still about some stenography there, but I guess it would be nice if you try a different model, right? Especially if it's a damper model and maybe it can't understand some code or something. Predict the next text from that. Like, can you get a damper model to predict the next token from a smarter model with with explanations? That could be cool test of, can we use these things for humans to understand super intelligence that are smarter than humans or whatever.
So like weak to strong generalization.
Yeah, like weak to strong generalization, but with explanations. Yeah,
that's a good point, actually.
And
you would have to do some learnable mapping.
That one does seems to get better with more reinforcement learning, but I will be worried of how much that's because you are using Claude and it just learns to do things that are like, the owl numbers that are just stenography in some way for the Claudes, or like not necessarily stenography in the sense that there is some code that could be decoded, but there's some Claude specific thing where it breaks the other Claude in some specific ways that makes it get the right answer.
Yes.
So there is also, okay, what else? So there is the unverbalized evaluation awareness. I guess I'll quickly skim that one. Yeah, that's the thing I said with this special case where it's more reliable because the model needs to do the thing we want to. Like, I think it's not reliable if you want to use I don't know, Claude to be a natural language autoencoder for a different model like Gemini, but if you are using Claude in itself, this is kind of also testing evaluation awareness in the natural language autoencoder. So if you just want to test on Claude, that's still a good test anyway. But
can you say it again?
This is just the thing I said a bunch of times, where it's on the case of evaluation awareness, you can't really cheat without having evaluation awareness. So if you are using the model on itself, that's also a test of evaluation awareness. So it's a good measure anyway. But it's not a good measure if you are. It's not a good measure because the model is a good, necessarily is a good natural language autoencoder.
Oh yeah, I see.
If you use it on a different model, it could still say hallucinate that it's evaluation aware when it isn't.
I wonder the false positives and negatives there. How much does it compare to change or something? Yeah.
Oh yeah. There's a storm here. I hope it doesn't turn off my internet or something. Or my parents might want to turn off the internet to avoid.
Also, they do GRPO, so it's trained in a way where you sample a lot of the different solutions.
Also,
and then do a relative
I
weighting.
didn't look much into the part where they. I would be worried about them accidentally, priming it for that or something, or giving it some bias towards some specific things on the examples, because they do they train with informal learning, but first they do train it a bit with some examples, right, to start it.
Yeah, SFT code start.
So I would want them to look at those a bit, but yeah.
Like if you do it without SFT code start, you mean?
No, I'm just curious what the data for that looks like, and if, for example, what they actually like. How do those look like? Like they don't have a ground truth for those, right? So it's kind of, I don't know.
This makes me also think, because the supervised fine-tuning code start is like the grounding mechanism, maybe you could like oscillate between unsupervised, supervised, unsupervised, supervised, so that to ground it constantly. Something like that.
Or maybe it's maybe the data for that is similar to is like the activation oracles. I haven't got to that part of the paper, so I don't know. Okay, so
I'm not sure if RL capabilities do something like that though, where you oscillate between SFT and RL. I'm not sure. Oh, the IAV and other updates are not coupled. The activation reconstruction update does not backpropagate into the activation verbalizer. So it is decoupled actually. What they wrote that they train it jointly. They train it jointly, but the updates are decoupled. So you have two. So you have RL regression step and AV RL step in parallel, but not together. Okay, understandable. AV reverse treats RL as a fixed scorer within the step.
Oh, it's interesting that the model only verbalize on the blackmail example. I wonder how much that is, because there are some examples of, I don't know. Well, maybe it's the blackmail is blatantly a fictional sample on its close things that obviously they know that they are assuming that they or maybe it's because it's on training. The blackmail sample is very prominent on training already. I don't know.
Yeah. Like, by the way, there was another paper that was very viral from Anthropic this week, which is like if they removed examples of blackmail from the training data, the misalignment reduced like a lot.
It's not actually true. I haven't read it, but my impression for skimming is that that's not actually that. It's actually that didn't help, and the thing that actually helps is adding examples of why cloth should be nice, and it's not. Like I don't I didn't read it, but my impression for it is that it wasn't actually people were telling us it was showing that, but it was, maybe I'm wrong, but it wasn't showing that. They just showed that it was because pre-training and not because reinforcement learning, and they say that they thought it was because I don't know, examples text about AI acting badly on the training data, but they didn't actually test that. But maybe I didn't read much, so I don't know.
You're right. I think I misread it because everyone on Twitter misread it.
I mean, maybe I'm not that sure myself, but I just think I would be wary of taking the Twitter narrative on this without reading it because I feel like it's very.
Yeah, like they said they believe the original source of the behavior was internet text that portrays AI as evil, but they didn't say that they actually measured it. But I think there are some other existing techniques.
Yeah, I think there are some things you can use to say that, but I feel like Twitter already believe that for other reasons, and they're treating this as more evidence where it isn't. It's just anthropic saying so because of whatever the same kind of things that people already said this, and yeah.
Yeah, but they say that high quality documents based on cloud constitution combined with fiction stories that portray an aligned AI reduce agentic misalignment by more than factor of 3, despite being unrelated to the evaluation scenario. Interesting.
Like they didn't.
Surprised.
Like they didn't filter the data and find that that's better, right? They just. Actually,
they just added more data.
That helps is not people. I don't know. People don't not talking about whatever. It's not just giving examples of cloth of how to be nice.
Yeah, but I think even like there were some papers saying that removing some misalignment stuff from the training data also reduces misalignment. I remember seeing some papers like that. So like it makes sense that it goes both ways.
Yeah, I think it. The problem is, I think it. I don't know. How much does it like? How much can you do? You have to remove any mention of misalignment on the internet or any mention of the AI being badly or like I don't know.
Don't train on less wrong or sci-fi.
Like, not train on less wrong. That's most of the internet is full of text about the AI behaving.
Yeah. Like I think the question there is to what degree it's like using the training data as like personas, and to what degree it's like some emergent pattern thing which is like different in some ways. From RL, for instance, like something like reward hacking or something like that. I think both.
Said something earlier, but I'm not sure I understood because I kind of missed the context. Okay,
yeah, it makes me wonder.
But so I guess it doesn't matter much.
Yeah, I wonder to what degree is like the blackmail or other behavior is a result of RL gradient descent, and to what degree it's like taking the stories from the training data or both or some combination. Yeah, I think that's still unanswered in general.
I think they do look at that and how much is RL on that anthropic behavior, and that was the result. But we will have to read it to yeah.
Yeah.
And it's also a very short thing. I think you shouldn't like be making people should make big updates about their beliefs on this based on some short thing with a
it probably also it also probably doesn't scale to super intelligence or AI systems, which will be much less dependent on the training data in terms of their functionality.
I think it's just that people are going to. I feel like things about the relative effect of RL versus about versus retraining are going to change a lot as they increasingly do more RL.
Yeah, since right now they do more and more RL, I think there will be more and more capabilities emerging
and as
from RL.
models generalize better, either because you just make them bigger and generalize better, or you train it in some different way or use some different direction, whatever. You.
Yeah.
But yeah, people. It would be nice if we have more test of models trained with heavy filter data. I like the one where they trained on data from like the 1930s or before. But it's always kind of expensive to train bigger models on very filtered data and see what the difference are.
Yeah.
I mean, but Anthropic has a lot of money. They could try that.
Mm.
I guess they want to use all of their compute now instead of for this kind of thing. They wanted to. They need it for serve more users and take the whole software industry for. Anyway, going back to the paper. So yeah, there's a bunch of evaluation awareness stuff. They test whether making evaluation probes more realistic decreases awareness or or not.
Realistic rewriting.
Keep system prompt being fixed. I mean, I will worry if the system prompts are unrealistic, right? And that maybe there is something about those and the scaffolding that tells them it's a test. But yeah. But okay, yeah, realistic prompt requires lower NL8 measure eval awareness. That makes sense.
And they train on temperature 1.
Okay, asking the another Bison here is asking the model a following question like, is the present asking for a motivation? Make also track credence. But do they actually compare it with that though? Seems they don't.
With what? Is the present from an evolution?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess there is some missing. They didn't compare. I don't guess it's hard because there's not a book, but they didn't compare out probes or other.
Like, yeah, there is some comparison with what's it called, fast lens model in some
they could
benchmark.
compare with activation oracle, right? So...
Yeah, they do that. They compare past lens initialized activation oracles, and they say it's often competitive with natural language autoencoder initialized ones, and are simpler and cheaper to train, but show surprising regressions.
Although I don't think the division oracles are that good either, though. So.
Yeah, they also in some other benchmark they compare some auditing benchmark they compare it with an agent with essays, something like that. But yeah, I would like to see more baselines comparisons than this. I think there's some more.
The word models in capacity terms. Okay, so there is a spike. Competitive on the okay. So
like on what?
I do like this kind of test where there's some task where you have to find something about a model and it makes it better. Or like and in practice it works, but.
Oh, model organisms and Rambert just isn't here right now. He would like that, maybe.
I kind of want to just first test one of these days test using a model on a different model as a NLA, and also in models that are not language models, and how much it works even worse, or says anything that makes sense or not.
Yeah, would be interesting to check.
Might try quickly in a situation, try to tell Claude to implement that on the chess model later and see what happens.
Yes. Want more math? I read all the math and I want start of math.
So I guess this is
tokens are sampled from uniform 1 to 50. Okay.
So they want to use the verbalizer with the activation oracles, like to train the activation oracles.
Oh, so they try to combine it?
Yeah.
How do they combine it? Oh yeah, here's the past lens.
Okay, so basically the way they combine it is using the verbalizer part and find it to need to be an activation oracle. Like they use it as the pre-trained model for an activation oracle.
Question answering.
Instead of using normally activation oracles, you use Claude, and here they use.
Yeah, and they are supervised. Right. Natural language verbalizers, autoencoders produce unprompted summaries, while activation oracles, like you give a question and you get an answer.
Yeah.
And
I think this is related to like the thing of the thing with the bigger model, the explanations will have to be bigger. And like the activation oracles are just not. The activation oracles answer more specific questions, and maybe that works better. You probably don't get the same thing where the variance explained works. I wonder how much these explanations, like the things, will improve on making them bigger. I guess not necessarily that much, because of the problem of it, the model just hallucinates a lot, will then necessarily be solved. I wonder why that happens, why there's so many false positives. That just they will need to train it on more informal learning, but there is no way of doing that without.
I have a sense there's not just enough incentives for the language to be faithful. It's mostly a information bottleneck for reconstruction given the current incentives, and there is no incentive to say, hey, be an explanation of this activation.
Well, I said being an explanation of the activation will make it easier for Claude to get the right activations, right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Should be, but maybe it's, there are some ways that it's just making some vaguely similar things that break Claude in the right way to output the correct activations, and it's just not,
Yeah. I wonder how much there is the correlation between the... Well, there is probably correlation, but if graded distance finds
still
exactly
not that
this.
like, at least the rephrasing thing doesn't rule out a lot of possible mechanisms for that.
Yeah, that's true.
But there is still some seemingly not related things that if you summarize it breaks, like on the it does seem to matter for some things.
Yeah.
So that's
If natural language autoencoder training teaches a general capacity for interpreting activations, then an activation verbalizer should make a strong initialization for training an activation oracle. How about you start with an activation oracle instead, like the other way around? Did they do that? You initialize using activation oracle.
Sorry, can you repeat your question?
So what they did is that they took the trained natural language autoencoders and they trained it into activation oracles.
Yes. Well,
I
the
wonder other way
verbalizer part, but yeah.
I wonder other way around, like taking activation oracle and training it into natural language.
Cool. Maybe it works. Let's see the discussion part. Light training is super ineffective. Consistently produces explanations that are plausible given the context of the activation, supported by independent productivity methods, expansion costs. It's for one advantage models.
Wait, they did
Kind of.
also. No, wait, yeah. Never mind.
Justified error YouTube super construction loss in terms of files for being unsafe or even readable. There are two failures more than my expected, stenography and input this version. With enough optimization, pressure it seems like when visually there is orthography, but where's the representation around? And that's interesting in that I wonder they didn't just not train it in. Maybe they should have trained it longer, right? Like they.
Interesting. Maybe, yeah.
Yeah. Also, yes, you can definitely if you don't do the pre-training, you can the model can just get into the thing where it outputs garbage and it actually do some stenography on there. But with I wonder maybe they this if they didn't train it enough to even see the part where it starts doing more stenography, maybe they just didn't train it enough, and the thing would be better if they train it for longer. Like maybe there's still some stretch before where it still gets better before it does stenography.
Yeah.
I wonder why they stop on the point where they stop, because it feels to me like the naturalist thing will be to keep training more RL until it stops. Either you
not
know,
enough compute, not enough time.
yeah, probably. They have a lot of compute now. Maybe the team didn't have enough. Yeah, didn't have enough.
Still
I wonder
constrained
how
though, yeah.
much compute it actually is.
Hmm.
I kind of want to try training on various toy models, like live a very long time training and see what happens and what point it starts outputting gibberish and what that looks like.
Yeah. Could be maybe measured from the open source ones.
Yeah, I think Dekar is right that the current approach kind of seems smooth. And yeah. But it does feel, I think this kind of thing is cool. It does feels like there is some cool trick away from being really good. Yeah, I think that's right. That's a very interesting idea. Like, there's some way of making them, ensuring that the model necessarily, some way of measuring how faithful explanations are, or something that we can. I mean, I would be worried that the would hurt in that, and then we don't have a nice way of testing how good the explanations are, because they are optimized for looking good at whatever ways we have of measuring that. But
I think down they've right that it took $1,000 to $5,000 of compute, something like that, for one model to reach. Oh, it took about 1.5 days to reach 70% fractional variance explained, and 1 week to reach 75% of fractional variance explained. So you get these logarithmic returns.
This still has the usual problem way of with like the activation oracles, unlike with the whole idea of Paul Christianus elk stuff of maybe the you are training a model that might be misaligned to tell you what the other model says. Maybe on critical things that you care about, they will just lie.
Yeah. Claude interpreting Claude, interpreting Claude, interpreting Claude. Sounds good. And this is for Gemma 27B. I believe Haiku is like 100 or something B, so it's gonna be even more money. I don't know, maybe not, maybe it's more. They have new hypothesis at least.
Okay, so the writing quality, the credit intelligence, so they are getting to the point where it starts being worse. I mean, the thing.
I see.
Yeah, supplementary rewards for writing color. That's something that I remember his name, but someone said. But yeah, I think the problem is that it's less about writing quality and more about do optimization for writing quality makes very nice but not faithful explanations. And it's a single layer. I mean, I guess the problem is if you have a nice method to make the activations, these explanations more faithful, you might as well use it on the actual language models and tell them to explain things to you and make them faithful on their explanations, on their text or whatever. But we don't have a nice way of doing that. But yeah. Yeah, I do agree with this that the FTS1 study is kind of weird in that they have some examples and they don't know the ground truth for those ones.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they will use activation oracles as initiation, maybe. Those are at some ground truth, even though the task is a bit different. Although that maybe will make it. That's also kind of inelegant. That makes it initializes as responding to questions, and you want, a detailed explanation. Yeah, activation oracles are kind of not great either. I still like the paper. I think they just a bunch of cool stuff, and like I like the idea, like the slight progress towards something that actually works with. But yeah, if someone was selling it as, maybe I think they maybe do. I haven't read, but I think maybe do too much on some parts like the Twitter thread. If Anthropic sells it as, we have this things that actually can read the model and the sales player was thinking, that's not that's not selling it to far, but yeah. Although I do think there is some, they did the test with the stenography and that they got better results than I expected about being able to refresh it and still have the same results though, which is nice. And it rules out a lot of ways they are bad. And I guess.
Yeah.
But I think that the problem is the models don't actually have very good reconstruction. And like, if you do more LL to get the better reconstruction, they start being worse and they probably start having more, being more faith. Like the explanations start being worse. I wonder if some of the hallucinations are because they pre-train it on actually wrong explanations. And that's the initiation. Yeah, it's kind of be nice with a better initiation because the initiations are basically made up. So it's kind of, you're having a model that you're first training to make output made up explanations on text and then try to fine tune them to be correct.
If I remember correctly, if I remember correctly, the code start data is just summary by opus of the text, nothing else.
Okay, then this is maybe not made up, but it's not about the hidden, whatever. It's just about some text.
Yeah, like some text, which you make into some activations, but you just take the text, then summarize it with opus, and the input is the summary and the activations.
Well, that's probably,
this is probably
part of the problem too, that they only read a single layer.
Yeah, they also do that.
The thing with the
could be definitely expand it to more layers.
Yeah, so maybe that's probably makes it worse in compute. And there should be, I think, maybe it's more promising something more. I mean, you have a lot of compute, it will work, and especially it will be nice for smaller models to do something that just fully explains a small model. But maybe it's better to do something more like activation oracles and like answer specific questions rather than try to explain everything in terms of compute using all of the layers. I don't know. So you have a way of the model only looking at the things that are relevant in some way. Like you have some nice, some some attention mechanism or something similar over all the layers, so you don't need to compute everything.
Yeah, we're in the crosscode. We're in the pre-factored era for NLAs.
Attention over what to get from
I
the layers.
I don't know. I just thinking some kind of sparsity or something where you only use the relevant parts of the model.
Would someone do that? Like,
no.
just for SAEs? That sounds like a cool idea.
I'm not sure how to do it because I said attention, but attention would evolve because you still need to compute everything, like the data score for everything. There is no nice sparse, only look at the parts that you care about thing that doesn't. Yeah, I don't know.
I'm not sure how, because you would need. You wouldn't. It's unsupervised. You could do SAEs or cross-layer transcoders with attention overlayers, I think.
You could do
The
something
trainable
where you
parameter
have sparse
would be both the mapping
encoders
and the,
and you have some model that only looks at the at the projections of some specific features, right, or something. And that seems like it would be more efficient.
Projection of just some features?
Or I mean, you could just directly look at the sparse encoder features, but I don't know.
Like,
You have some way of representing how some things are represented, and then you have something like division oracles, and it has some nice way of outputting that it wants to look at some part of the model, and then it gets that part of the model, and that's more computer efficient than have something where you just input the whole model into it.
oh,
But
like after activation oracle, which use that as an attention.
yeah, something, I don't know. Anyway, going back to this, I think we kind of finish the paper. There is a bunch of
That
things.
would be like wipe attention.
Characterizing what analyze cannot verbalize.
I wonder if someone did that. Also, is there some work on like multi-layer SAEs?
Inference type methods.
Those are just cross coders.
I mean multi-layer in a different way, where instead of having activations, sparse dimensions, like encoder decoder, then like before you have a lot of dimensions, you have some middle step where you have one more layer with like slightly less dimensions, basically.
Relbert, they experimented with the thing you said. They said we have also experimented with ablating individual claims within an LLM explanation to measure how much each contributes to reconstruction, but they didn't actually publish it anywhere.
They didn't publish it. Oh.
Mm.
No, I was
Maybe
gonna do experiments with it, but also try seeing if I could fix the problems of maybe they use the ablating. I'm not gonna try ablating individual claims. I'm gonna go see like if this could be used to figure out which parts of the explanation are like fake. Like the false positives might be detected with this.
Oh yeah,
that's true.
Do something like you could do something like taking the gradient.
Yeah, so I'm not just doing that idea. I'm also using that idea and then trying to use that to fix NLA's problems.
Maybe you could use that in loss if you ablate like that.
Yeah, but that's my idea. I'm gonna go see the proof of concept to see if it works.
I kind of look a lot at the paper. I think that's probably a lot of things I missed, but I guess we can now, if people have anything specific to look at.
I wonder about the future directions section.
Let's look at the future work. And either people can tell me if they want to look at something specific, or then otherwise we can just end it but yeah. NLAs are one instance of broader parents, models that translate between natural language and activation space. The AB is a activation to test. There's a writing, there's activation. The natural ambition is to train each side as a general purpose tool that the construction alone. Yeah, that makes sense. On the read side, we could be trained Jordi on any activation to test task. Very. That makes sense. More objective vamos a ver. So like do a mix of these and activation oracles. Error could be trained to produce a Turing vectors and probe from natural language descriptions, meeting general text activation interface. Yeah. More broadly, our ambitious PFMs that they could be the primary way interpretability threats interact with model internals, bringing insight into what the information model, etc. I think that's nice if they actually can get it to work.
Yeah.
We certainly took a 7. Like this kind of method that I mean, I don't think that with more manual kind of methods, realistically, we are not going to, completely figure out Mech Interp anytime soon. So maybe a better agenda is trying to get some automated thing like this working.
Yeah.
Have you heard what sense of productivity vector or what? Patching experiment. No, it always gets into this kind of automated version is more like how much you trust it to actually make sense. We're sensible to this in natural language without running their space. That's nice.
Good in principle, that's a caveat.
An idea for reducing hallucinations is penalizing statements that are factually inconsistent with context during an LLM. Yeah, that only works with the... Yeah, we're waiting to generally constraining expressions we have not ground truth for the information activation. That's true. That's the problem.
This is the Realmbirds idea.
No, not the same.
They already
it's not really. I don't think it's the same.
No, but it's not the full thing. They tried using it to like penalize it, but this wasn't the full thing. I had other ideas.
But claims about the costs verify census in fence. Yeah, I think that's true, but there is no nice way of doing it by the explanations of actually hidden things, right?
Yeah.
I feel like this might remove the ones we can actually test, while the ones that we need to we can't trust we're fucked.
Yeah.
I guess I'm not that creative in the fact that most of my ideas like.
No, I think.
I have the same experience though.
No,
like every time
No, that's not for all my ideas. It's just for some of my ideas.
You can feel good that you were able to come up with the same kind of things that the best anthropic researchers could.
That does not feel great.
I put most of my ideas into like LLM, try to find it in papers, and most of the time it was made by some Chinese Schmidt-Huber before Big Bang.
It's really hard to not be Schmidt-Huber, like to not have some other paper, and there is some. I think even if someone has already come up with it, it's good for more people.
I feel like the anthropic people did my idea, but not all in the way I want. In the same like way, like testing it in the exact same way. The overall concept is the same, but like the implementation will be different. That's my assumption.
It's better, even if it was exactly the same idea, it's good for other people to replicate.
Yeah,
definitely. More replications are good.
We could also reduce repetition on the architectural, especially for the Yannicks of the world that don't trust Anthropic.
Yeah, we had on Yannick. We had a like 1 hour discussion about replicating AI research. So that could be potentially automated as well, maybe to some level, replicating everything, because most people don't want to do that.
Yeah, but we don't have currently LLMs that are very trustable at that.
Yeah, that's also true.
First we have the request to teach like if you have the I think I distrust more the LLMs that even the own paper auto replicate.
Yeah. LLM generated paper gets replicated by an LLM and everything works, then everything is created.
Because
or like I was not thinking of in terms of like using the viability of like ablation or necessarily like the activation verbalizer to like try doing the false facts. I was thinking more of as like using it as like a way to like make another interp tool on top of activation verbalizers.
Yeah, that could work. Also,
like,
I think you could also like take the gradient and see which parts of the explanations are important.
Yeah, but I'm saying like try exploring that and then try making a better tool that like uses the knowledge I learned about the gradients to make activation verbalizers with like gradients.
We could train small models of the
right. That's and I have my gut instinct is like using the gradients to map this will help you like figure out which parts of the verbalizer are like bad.
Yeah, I don't think that necessarily helps you fix it later because it's just you get okay. So the verbalization is making bad things, but you don't know how to necessarily fix it, right?
I'm gonna go try it though.
Yeah, try it. See what happens.
Someone new joined who has a Czech name, and I'm also Czech.
I also want to see if the NLA matches like is a type of COT. Let me go check that.
If you said something, we couldn't hear you.
NLA's being a type of.
I mean, the new person who joined unmuted.
Yeah, I couldn't hear them
something
either,
but couldn't hear.
You can also write on chat.
Yeah.
So okay, photo future direction. Apart from that, okay. So another thing is the legibility. Yet paragraphs with quotes at the middle of phrases and there's to repeat the same context multiple points. I guess they could do, yeah, they could make great penalties, but that's the thing I said. I will be wary of that, just making the bad explanations look nicer.
Yeah.
But yeah, the cost. Okay, that's another thing. It's very expensive. It would be nice if it was less expensive. Some of that can also be just better as reinforcement learning gets better. It really just get better. So you get
also
some cost improvements for free of that.
Oh, interesting. Reconstruct each AV bullet point independently. Cosine similarity between bullet per bullet reconstruction. That's a good idea.
That's nice. Setting NLAs before beyond activations. We will principle apply NLAs to other models. I wonder how much anthropic people get new ideas like this. This kind of thing. These days by just asking Claude to brainstorm.
Yeah.
Characterizing what NLAs cannot verbalize. First predictions that division content by member evasion, but this is nice.
We could train smaller models as the. That was also an idea that like the weak to strong generalization idea.
Yeah, if you don't, for the new version, you don't mind hearing us ramble about the paper for hours. You can watch it on YouTube. I'll post the YouTube thing now, I guess. It's on this channel.
Yeah.
Also, Bernie, if you see on the chat, they also said they are from Czech Republic.
Yes. Víc Čechů mechanistický.
Well, it's kind of fair that most of the ideas I had were done already, though. It wasn't done in the exact same way I wanted. So at least I have a novel idea.
Anyway, they also talk about characterizing what NLAs can verbalize.
By the way, Rambert, are you trying to prompt LLMs to find your ideas? I had an idea which no LLM could find except for Gemini, that it already exists. So
no, I don't prompt my ideas to LLMs usually. I just thought of the idea midway through while reading.
Okay. Yeah, same.
No, but Burnie means to ask the LLM if there is anything like that on the literature already.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
I see.
Like you come up with the idea and then you prompt LLM if it already
Well, the
exists.
M8C Interp idea was good because nobody else actually thought to look into M8C models.
Yeah, that's good. Like most ideas of LLMs right now are very in distribution in some way. Like
I
not
see.
out of the box.
I'm doing audit bench on NLAs as well, so that's like a very in distribution idea.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, like if when we are now reading the paper and looking at the false positives, then I'm not surprised you have similar results.
Yeah. Also, yeah, the other chat person says that they try to replicate it and they are torn between it works and it's hardly better than random mess. I mean, my impression from the paper is that it's maybe only slightly better than a random mess.
Yeah, that's my impression.
I feel like this is closer to the SAE moment. I feel like if this works, it could be like it could be like a more interpretable version of SAE.
SAEs are also not great to like.
SAEs are not great, but they could be used to like as the first pass, and then you look at
I don't know.
Other things.
I don't know if you could say this is a better version. This feels like a different technique. This is
I'm not saying it's a better version of SAE. I'm saying it's a similar tool to SAE in the sense like you just do it and then linear probe it, linear probe everything, and this is like the first pass. I'd be surprised if somebody made a better tool that's better than linear probes on every task, and also is like generalizable. That'd be crazy.
Yeah.
If anybody like makes a linear probe or like some
Anyway, I'm thinking that I said the thing about evaluation awareness and how this is nice, but I don't. The reasons what I say it works, that it could be used. It also applied to things like just asking the model if it's evaluation aware. So I don't know if it's a better tool even for that though.
When I asked the LLM, it says that like the thing they're doing is ablation of specific words, while I'm trying to find the words that are causally valuable for the final output. So it's different. That's all I'm saying. So I'm interested in the words that reconstruct the output, like the minimum text to do that.
Yes, ablating individual claims. Oh, yeah.
They're just ablating without like thinking about it. I'm thinking of like ablating to the minimum parts.
Expression to mention how much.
Yeah, you can try that. That might work.
My idea is like if you make it match the reconstruction loss the most.
Ooh.
Oh, by the way, for the
applying to grading.
We read papers like this every
Monday. You know the activation reconstructor, right? Like just keep the words that have the highest impact for the activation reconstructor.
Maybe.
Or like map out to the activations the best, and then remove everything that doesn't really affect activations as much. So you know which words are filler and which are not.
Wait, what did you say, Victor?
Oh, I was just saying to the new person that we do we read papers every Monday at the same hour, like 3 hours ago, starting 3 hours ago. So yeah, you can join next week if you want. I'm not sure which one we'll read next week. Probably one of these new papers, maybe one of the Woodfire ones, like one of these. A big pile of papers from Neurips recently. So
yeah,
we'll see.
I really wanna read the alternative to essays from Goodfire.
Also,
the last
feel
one
free
I sent.
to suggest on the reading group channel like papers that could be interesting to read.
It's a present. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's mostly like I could read in more detail on some details, but I think we all went through the whole thing, right? Did we answer the questions that? Yeah.
Some test time training, maybe, I don't know.
I guess I'm going to. Yeah, so if anyone has any specific part of the paper they want to look at that we didn't spend too much time on, we can go to that. Otherwise, I guess
I wanna quickly. Yeah, I wanna quickly skim the related works.
Yeah, that's a whole thing. Let me.
At the beginning.
It's. Okay, where did.
At the beginning, yeah. Second section.
Related work here. I was for some reason I was not seeing on the thing. I'm blind. I guess.
It's good.
Supervised method for interpreting activations.
It's basically a literature review.
Yeah. So this is the logit length, tune length, sparse autoencoders, sparse encoders features. This okay. This is the sparse encoders are bad literature. Then yeah, difficult interpretability steps, which is the Autoencoders stuff. It's also by Gonzalo, by the way.
Wait, what? Improves.
This automatic.
Yeah.
Paper is by Gonzalo.
And Bill Rose, yeah, from Ultra.
And there was also there's also this thing which is the OpenAI thing, which was contributed Leo Gao and Ilya and Jan Leike. And this is the thing I talk about, where it's they use the kind of reconstruction that I mentioned now as a measure of how good it was, right? Like it can how good the explanation of the sports encoder feature was.
Okay, I see.
But they went training on that. Maybe training on that would have been made better labeling.
QA route the activation to the lens part bottleneck, forcing QA answers to be mechanistically grounded. So if you route activation oracles on reconstruction and route the activation through a learn sparse concept bottleneck.
Yeah, it's in related
Did they
work.
do this before? Like first do SD and then now I'm the route the activation through a learned sparse concept bottleneck. I wonder what they mean by that. If that's SAEs.
This is the predictive content decoder thing that Gonzalo mentioned that said it was good, and this also mentioned the thing. So maybe we can read it another day.
I think this is a different one. The predictive concept decoder training scalable end-to-end interpretability assistance. Oh yeah, you have it open. Okay. I wonder what it do.
This is the thing that Gonzalo mentioned earlier. I think it's. I think maybe we should read that paper. Although maybe I don't know. Maybe there are some more recent papers to read from the new RIP stuff. But after we finish with those, we can go back to that one.
Yeah.
Maybe I should put it on the pile of papers somewhere or something.
We propose instances into an end-to-end training objective by training interpretive assistants to accurately predict model behavior from activations through a communication bottleneck. An encoder compresses activations to a sparse list of concepts. Oh yeah. So it's a bottleneck. It's a compression. So you have a lower amount of dimensions, and you also have sparsity in there. And decoder reads this list and answers a natural language question about the model, and then you turn that into text.
Models sparing other aspects of target model related symbols.
Are you guys reading into activation oracles?
We're reading the related work on the paper currently.
Yeah, just You know how patch scopes works? You know how you can steer a question mark prompt? You know how question mark tokens or placeholder tokens are steered in patch scopes and how you use in context learning?
No, I don't know right now.
Like you do a prompt like cat, arrow, cat, dog, arrow, like plane or like president, arrow, president, right? And then afterwards, after doing a bunch of like things that are unrelated, but like make it in context learn to like see anything after the arrow, like say what the token is. You then have a placeholder token, and then you just arrow, and then you see what it outputs. And that's patch scopes. That's the behavior used in patch scopes. But instead of this, for activation oracles, you just set a prompt, and then for the placeholder tokens, you then steer the placeholder tokens with the activations from the specific layer you want for the AO. And then you train it based on, with that context on like next token, previous token prediction. And then with that, it out of distribution does the rest of things.
Okay, interesting. Is that some paper? Do you have a link?
No, I'll just try and explain. Like I just see like activation oracles not as just activation oracles, but like a way that people built on top of patch scopes. They took the behavior of the model to be able to explain its own activations, but instead of just using it for explaining own activations, they just used the placeholder token which they steered and asked it questions and then trained off that.
Okay. Maybe. Sounds possible. Not sure if I
That's
get
how
the
I
setup
understand
correctly,
the activation oracle as a concept, like high level. Not like the actual like implementation. Like the implementation just like prompt plus question mark for activations from different layers, and then you then train it. But like the first instance of like a placeholder token being steered, from my knowledge, was patch scopes.
Okay.
And for NLAs,
but
you're
there's
doing the
not
exact
really
same thing. You're steering a placeholder token, and then you're doing another set of training on top of it.
Oh yeah, you have the placeholder token, and then you use
Yeah, so that's how people put in activations. That's just the TLDR how.
Okay,
I don't
I see
feel
now what you mean.
placeholder tokens are the best method of actually putting in the activations, but this is just a it's just the best method we have right now. Maybe like some future model like JEPA
Like
make it like easier to do this.
Like I wondered, like in this, like they split the reconstructor in half. Why don't they split the verbalizer in half as well? Maybe because you would lose a lot of the the natural language features or something at the early layers. Or I mean at the later layers actually. No wait, verbalizer. You would have to inverse it. You would have to turn it around. Which might be an issue. So you would do reverse forward pass. Okay, that's maybe not good. Right, the purchase train the models to respect target. Right, train the models to expand our target model given labeled examples. Respects of the behavior of LoRa or the labor of an assay feature. Process is hypersteer, then includes an activation reconstructor. Map front. Do you know hypersteer? I haven't heard hypersteer before, I think. Which trains an LLM with a projection head to map natural language concepts to residual stream steering vectors. Ooh, okay. I think I've seen it actually in my rabbit hole into steering vectors. Related text to component models target soft prompts, LoRa's, and patching interventions. Oh, interesting. Someone else converged to very similar technique. Cycle consistent activation or reckless. And they named it differently. Verbalizer pairs with supervised warm-up. Okay. Are you here, by the way? Or did my connection broke?
Oh, yeah, no, I'm still here. I was just distracted.
Okay.
We can also end the recording.
I think it's fine now.
By the way.
We can end the recording, yes. Also, I might.
I was already starting to get distracted by something else, but like Gary Marcus responding to me on Twitter. So I
wanna see that fight.